John Perlman back as the MK Party's parliamentary leader, and law firm believes head of the NPA enjoyed preferential treatment from the president. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The Umkhonto weSizwe Party has reinstated John Perlman as its parliamentary leader and first deputy president. The party says Perlman November last year after being accused of making decisions without consulting party president Jacob Zuma. While Zuma was on a trip to Burkina Faso, Perlman fired Colleen Makhubele as the party's parliamentary chief whip, but that decision was later reversed when Zuma returned. The Johannesburg High Court has denied the state's request for a postponement in the attempted murder case against Vusimuzi Matlala. Judge William Karam says another postponement would not be in the interest of justice. This morning, the state requested more time, saying there are still outstanding documents that need to be reviewed. Matlala and his co-accused are facing a total of 25 charges, including money laundering and 11 counts of attempted murder. Some of the charges are linked to the attempted murder of Matlala's socialite ex-girlfriend Tebogo Tobejane. Judge Karam was not having another delay.
And this is not a rocket science matter, looking at the indictment that would require an extended period of time for the NPA to agree or disagree. Furthermore, in respect of accused number 5, the NPA is ordered to respond to the representations made on behalf of accused 5 by close of business on Monday, the 23rd of March 2026.
KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has explained why he retracted a statement about an alleged exchange of money between former Minister Bheki Cele and Vusimuzi Matlala. Mkhwanazi made the allegations during his first appearance before the ad hoc committee, which is probing allegations of police corruption. He said Cele had received money from Matlala, but Mkhwanazi later retracted that statement and apologized to Cele for the misunderstanding. Today, he told MPs the error was made due to the use of cell phone numbers for a different individual.
We also believe that the very same Vusimuzi Matlala made the same error. He might have been under impression that he's communicating to someone else, Ndosi, that he addresses as Ndosi himself. Why do we say that? We say this because, Honorable Chair and members, the owner of the number that the mistake happened resides in Mpumalanga.
Organized crime officer Fani Nkosi has been questioned about his contact with a taxi box linked to the murder of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart. Nkosi is back before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry this afternoon. Swart was killed in 2024 in a suspected case of mistaken identity, as the hit was intended for a whistleblower at his company who exposed tender irregularities at Transnet. Controversial businessman Katiso KT Molefe was then arrested, allegedly for orchestrating that hit. Tabiso Koba reports.
On the day of Armand Swart's murder, Sergeant Fani Nkosi had extensive contacts with the warrant officer Zungu from the Hawks, was investigating the matter. Nkosi says the warrant officer told him they believed the person responsible for Swart's murder was known to Ivan Mtagati. Mtagati is a businessman with interests in the taxi and private security industry. Nkosi says he has a close social relationship with Mtagati.
Mr. Zungu phoned me and told me that there are people who are arrested or who committed murder. I can't be quite sure about that. And they are known to Mr. Mtagati. That is when I then called Mr. Mtagati. Hey, Baba, but there are people who are arrested there and they are known to you. He said, I don't know, let me check.
WhatsApp chats before the Madlanga Commission show Mtagati sent Nkosi the name and ID number of Floyd Mabusela later in the day. Mabusela is one of the people currently standing trial for the murder of Armand Swart. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
A law firm challenging the appointment of Ndi Mutibi as the head of the NPA argues he was given preferential treatment by the president. The High Court in Pretoria has been hearing an application by Bixulu and Partners Incorporated questioning the legality of Mutibi's appointment. It says the fact that Mutibi was not subjected to the same interview process as all other shortlisted candidates makes his appointment irregular Alpha Ramshwana reports.
Bikulu and Partners Incorporated argues that the independent advisory panel established by the president to select the head of the NPA was nothing more than a proxy. The firm questioned the logic of the president appointing Andy Mutibi to the position, despite him never being interviewed by the advisory panel. The central argument is that Mutibi received preferential treatment, which was unfair to the other candidates who underwent the public interview process. The firm's advocate, Ngaba Buthelezi, adds that the president could have instructed the panel to extend the process and interview all candidates rather than directly appointing Mutibi.
The president opened the process to public scrutiny and subsequently shielded it completely. That is a valid point to be brought to the court's attention.
Section 179 of the Constitution gives the president the power to appoint an NPA head or delegate the responsibility to any other official body. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
And in Belgium, a court is expected to make a ruling in a closely watched case against French oil giant Total Energies brought forward by a local farmer. The farmer is seeking compensation for damage to his farm caused by climate change. The farmer, backed by environmental groups, argues the firm can be held liable for global warming because of emissions generated when its products are burnt. He is seeking $150,000 in damages for 4 extreme weather events that struck his farm between 2016 and 2020. Total Energies has rejected the claims. Gold is trading at $4,985.89 an ounce. The rand is at 16.61 to the dollar, 22.18 to the pound, 19.54 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $103.41 a barrel.
In Randburg, traffic lights not working at Jan Smuts and Republic. There's also faulty traffic lights causing heavy delays in Kaya Sand at Malibongo Drive and Boundary, as well as in Devland at the Golden Highway and Main Road.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 25 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the Umkhonto weSizwe Party has reinstated John Hlophe as its parliamentary leader and first deputy president.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
.702 Drive with John Perlman is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here. A very good afternoon, everyone. It's 10 minutes past 3 on Wednesday, the 18th of March. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you are listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. Back on the 18th of January, Senegal won the African Cup of Nations with a goal deep in extra time. That, of course, was not the whole story. But yesterday, their opponents on that day, Morocco, won the African Cup of Nations a full 2 months later, largely because of a team of persuasive lawyers. The Confederation of African Football has stripped Senegal of the title. They looked at the rules in the face of Morocco's protest. They found they'd left the field of play before the game was completed. I'm sure you remember the circumstances around that. And so they said, according to the rules, they forfeited the game. 2 months later, do we have a new champion of African football? Rules are rules? Or is the reality of people saying, well, we know who won the game on the field of play, and no matter what you say, that will never be changed? It's a major issue for football. It's a major issue, I think, in particular for African football. We'll talk about it at 10 to 5 with Ngobile Ndlovu, analyst joining us from Cash in Sport. In other stories, yesterday you might have heard us looking at the plans of the city of Johannesburg to spend 23.6 million rand on relocating the art that's currently at serious risk in the Johannesburg Art Gallery. Dangers of it being stolen because of inadequate security, but much more worrying, the gallery itself in a state of dire disrepair. The question, though, that is now being asked is, did that money actually need to be spent? No, says the Johannesburg Heritage Foundation. They say they had a private sector proposal in place that would have done all of this for nothing. Yes, says the city of Johannesburg, because they say the proposal was nothing other than just that, a proposal. No evidence of money on the table, no evidence of a plan that could be put into place. We didn't resolve it yesterday. We can have another go at it today after 4, as both sides insist that they are correct. Down in the Houses of Parliament, the man who brought us to the point where Parliament needed an ad hoc commission and the Madlanga Commission needed to be created, all of this to look at criminality, corruption and political interference in the police service. KZN Commissioner of Police General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi currently being asked questions and giving evidence. It's interesting stuff. A lot of really, really important information coming out of that. And we'll hear from Babalo Ndenze, our EWN colleague. He'll join us sometime after 5. I suspect when he joins us, they'll still be busy. One thing about the ad hoc commission, they do go late, right into the night often. What's come out so far, we'll get a summary later. And when we talk about tertiary education, I must admit I tend to think of the traditional universities, UCT, University of Pretoria, Forte, you name them, there's a good number of them. But there is an entire section or sector of tertiary education that actually is involving companies in the private sector. One of them is a company called Stadio, who've just been briefing the market on their plans. They've got a big expansion underway that they plan to deliver in Durbanville in the northern part of Cape Town. CEO Stan Duplessis joining us for that at a little bit later in the show. On the markets, oh boy, the all share deep in the red today, down by 1,770 points. That's largely due to the mining sector getting hammered, with the resources index down by 5.1%. The gold price is weaker by 2%. Platinum is off by 2.6%. Listen to some of these numbers. Sibanye has lost 9.6% today. The platinum company, also with gold assets, and Gold Fields is down by 7.4%. Where there is upside, it's not in resources, or in fact it is. Tungela is better by 2.4%. As a coal supplier, they're benefiting from the surge of shares like Sasol. I'll tell you about the oil price in a moment. HCI has gained 2.6%. The rand is currently trading at 16 Rand 78 against the dollar. That's a 10-cent drop over the last 24 hours. A euro will cost you 19 Rand 34. The rand 13 cents weaker over the same time period. And 22 Rand 38 will get you a pound. Sterling stronger by 14 cents. Brent crude is up by nearly 2.5% today, currently trading at $105.85 a barrel. I suppose all these numbers, because nobody buys a barrel of Brent crude, may be a little bit meaningless, but trust me, it's coming to a pump near you. The petrol prices soon are going to be horrendous, and I suspect after that, another even bigger increase, because at least what we're buying now, the oil might have been procured at the better prices that we were enjoying in January and February. Come late April, early May, it's not looking good. Stephen Curtis will join us with all the market news at 4:25. We'll have sport with Alex White. Mbali Dlamini joining us at 3:30. You heard her a moment ago. She's back then with the news headlines. Karabo Charlie, keeping an eye on the roads. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. Please, if you hear something or pick up a piece of news, maybe there's an angle on the story we're covering that we might have got wrong. If you want to put us right on anything at all or just add to the news agenda, get us on 072 702 1702 or give us a ring on 011 883 0702. This is 702 Drive. It's 16 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Yeah, there's going to be lots to talk about throughout the show. Some other stories I haven't told you about yet, but I'll fill you in on the program as the show unfolds. Lots of questions that always need asking. When is that ever not true? And plenty to think about. Now, yesterday we introduced you to a kind of a random thought, but a lot of you responded. The broad question we asked then was, what have you learned about men and their habits once you got into a relationship with a man? Same question today. I promised you it wouldn't be one way. We would then ask the same question about women. So, what have you learned about women and their habits by being in a relationship? Jonathan Fairbairn, a very good afternoon to you, producing the show today with Rifue Litsua. What have you learned? What have you learned that you're willing to share?
Afternoon to you, John. That when you ask a woman if everything is okay and she says, no, I'm fine, she's not fine.
Okay.
You have to like probe a little bit and say, are you sure? Are you really sure everything's fine? You know, I can see it on your face.
Okay.
And then 9 times out of 10, the fine is never fine. There is something there. So you like almost have to kind of beg it out. And then they'll tell you what the issue is. That's a habit that I've learned.
Okay. So, and would you because somebody said, oh, no, you guys are generalizing. I mean, have you encountered that more than once?
Yeah, in most of the relationships that I've been in.
Yeah.
That's not everyone, but the majority of the
sufficiently
relationships.
so.
Yeah. Maybe I'm the common denominator here, but you know,
not even implying that. I mean, maybe they might be thinking, well, I was fine until you kept asking me if I am fine, you know. And now I'm really annoyed because I was fine until you asked me if I was fine. Karabo Charlie, what have you got to add to the pot as we begin filling it?
Again, I've seen it with my mother and I'm seeing it with my partner. Women get down to business no matter the circumstances or the situation. They can handle pain. They go through illnesses better than us. So they're more tougher, more resilient. You know, they endure the illnesses. Unlike us men, when we get the flu, we just bedridden.
I mean, they haven't experienced man flu. Have they?
Don't justify it. But anyway, my partner will have the worst flu ever, but then you wake up, she'll be preparing the kid for school. You get home, she's preparing supper as if she's well and fit. And I'm like, how do you do it? Because when I'm sick, I call off sick. I don't go to work. I'm in bed. I'm a crybaby. I need to be nursed. But they just get along with it. They just go on with the day as if they are not in pain or not ill.
But that's because they're fine, as John was saying there. Okay, so there's plenty to talk about. That resilience is something that I've heard about and experienced a great deal myself. Call us. What did you learn about women and their habits once you found yourself in a relationship with a woman? Not necessarily for the first time, but cumulatively over the course of your life and the relationships you've had. Call us with that on 072-702-1702, 011-883-0702. It's 3:20. Rain out there. Let's find out what the traffic looks like. Karabo, what you got?
Well, at this stage, busy in Bryanston. If you're heading towards Four Ways, expect delays. This is on Winnie Mandela Drive between Main Road and Witkoppen Road. Also in Polshof, bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is on Witkoppen Road between Main and Stonehaven in the Joburg CBD, driving towards Boysons. Slow-moving traffic on the M1 southbound between Killarney Benz and the Crown Interchange. Also slow-moving traffic through Midrand, heading towards Centurion N1 northbound between the Betlu Interchange and Samarand. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Okay, it's 21 minutes past 3. I mentioned that we're going to catch up with what's happening at the Parliamentary. At the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Commission, which is taking place down in Cape Town, where Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is testifying. He's been brought back to the commission, as I'm sure some of you know. He was the person who got that commission underway. But then there is the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry as well. And on it goes, still talking to Sergeant Fani Nkosi, who is somebody who appears, despite the relatively junior level of his rank, to have had the ear and relationships with senior generals on the one hand and people involved in business and accused of being involved in other things as well. Also, he appeared to be some kind of go-between between them. So, what was he being asked about today, and what do you have to say? Tapiso Gorbo, very good afternoon to you. From the bit I heard, the murder of Armand Swart, the Vereniging engineer, a case of mistaken identity. He was killed when the target was somebody else, and quite a lot coming up in regards to the taxi industry. What stood out for you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. Well, today we were introduced to two characters in this ever-unfolding Madlanga Commission story. So the first character that we were introduced to was a Mr. Ivan Mtagati. So we understand that he is a taxi boss here in Gauteng, and how he is sort of linked to the story around Mr. Armand Swart is that when Mr. Armand Swart was assassinated on the 17th of April 2024, there was a Hawks detective who was investigating the matter. And that Hawks detective called Mr. Sergeant Kosi, who's currently testifying before the Madlanga Commission, and said he had information that the people behind the murder of Armand Swart were people that were known to this Mr. Ivan Mtagati. So then Mr. Sergeant Kosi said he then phoned Mr. Ivan Mtagati and asked him who are these people that are believed to be behind this murder of Armand Swart. And what Mr. Mtagati then did, he came back with a name of a man called Floyd Mabusela, and he came back with a name and his ID number.
Right.
Now, this Floyd Mabusela was later arrested, and as we speak, John, he is currently standing trial for the murder of Armand Swart, along with, obviously, the suspected crime boss, Mr. Katiso KT Mulefe. So, obviously, what this question raises is, why was a man who is suspected to have been involved in the murder of Armand Swart, why was he getting tip-offs from police? And there was also a situation where Mr. Mtagati was in possession of very sensitive information regarding the Armand Swart matter, and he was sharing those information, sort of like the CCTV videos of Mr. Armand Swart's murder. He was sharing it with Mr. Sergeant Kosi, and obviously, as I said, he also shared the name and the personal details of the man who allegedly shot Mr. Armand Swart. And Mr. Nkosi was asked, did you ever take this up? Were you ever not worried that the person that you're in contact with has such sensitive information? And the answer from Mr. Nkosi is that he never reported this to the police, and he believed that the information that Mr. Mtagati was sharing was information that was already available to the public. However, that isn't obviously true. And now the second character that we've also been introduced to is another gentleman by the name of Mampane. And Mr. Sergeant Goes has said that he doesn't know what Mr. Mampane's first name is. However, John, this is another person that Mr. Sergeant Gozi has been sending a lot of confidential SAPS information to. And he was again asked about this, that why do you keep on sending these confidential information to people that are outside the police industry? And his excuse has always been that, oh, no, a lot of this information leaks, so it's already public. But then that also doesn't explain why you as a police officer should be sharing information that is confidential. Yes, maybe someone from social media is sharing it, but you have a different standard than a social media person. So then, he couldn't explain that. And just as we are about to, just as I came to this call, John, Mr. Sergeant Faningos has admitted to receiving money from this Mr. Mampane, who's understood to be a taxi boss and in the private security industry. However, he says that he received this money on behalf of his brother because sometimes this Mr. Mampane orders security protection from his brother. His brother has a security company, so then when he pays the money to Mr. Sergeant Kosi, who then passes it on to his brother. Obviously, there was a question that doesn't your brother's company have a bank account? Why do you need to collect the money? Again, something that he couldn't respond. So that's where we are, John, with Mr. Sergeant Kosi.
Yo. I mean, it really has been a couple of days of in this particular round at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. But I think it's fair to say most days at the Madlanga Commission have produced moments of absolute and unadulterated often the answers and explanations given for conduct that is, I would have thought, definitely unethical, very likely illegal, but fundamentally incredibly dangerous for other people. I mean, yesterday's example of sharing a document that provided somebody outside of police ranks and with a possible interest in the case that was being investigated, with the names, address, and cell phone numbers of both the complainants and a key witness. But there we go. It's still going on at the moment. We'll update you, I'm sure, on the news bulletins should Tabiso alert us to anything else. 27 minutes past 3.
John Perlman
On 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
Right. Well, let's stay with this sort of broad world in which this commission has been probing. One of the people who has been very much front and center both in Parliament and in the conversations at the Madlanga Commission is Vusimuzi Matlala, and he himself was in court today alongside, I think, 4 others, but Alpha Ramoshwana was there and he will update us precisely on that. Alpha, very good afternoon to you. What was the court concerned with today? I know that we haven't really gotten out of the starting blocks on the main issues that over which the judge must eventually decide, but what was going on today?
Good afternoon, John. So the Presidency and law firm Biqulu and Partners Incorporated were in the High Court in Pretoria today seeking to challenge really the appointment of Andy Mothibi as the head of the NPA. And we heard arguments from both the Presidency and the law firm, which is bringing the challenge. The law firm believes that Andy Mothibi's appointment was flawed, fundamentally flawed and irregular, given the fact that he did not undergo the selection process by the panel which the president had appointed to select an NDPP. And so the law firm believes that Andy Mothibi should have also been interviewed publicly, just as the other 6 candidates were interviewed. You'd remember that the advisory panel recommended to the president that none of the 6 interviewed candidates were suitable to succeed Shamila Batoyi as the head of the NPA. And then the president exercised his constitutional powers to directly appoint Andy Mothibi to the position. But the law firm argues, the Biqulu law firm argues, that Mothibi should have been interviewed publicly, just like the others were. But the presidency's lawyers did not agree. In fact, pointing to the fact that Section 179 of the Constitution protects the president in that it does allow him to appoint whoever he wishes to the position. It also allows him to delegate the appointment of an NPA head to whichever official body. In this case, it was the advisory panel which the president had selected, which found that none of those shortlisted candidates were suitable. And so the president was merely exercising his constitutional duty by appointing Andy Mothibi, and these are the arguments that the presidency made in the High Court today. The judgment has been reserved, and we do expect it to be delivered electronically.
Thanks so much, Alpha Ramoshwana. My apologies for just getting the introduction there wrong, not covering the court appearance of murder-accused Vusimuzi Matlala, but legal action taken in regard to the appointment of Andy Mothibi, Advocate Andy Mothibi, as the new head of the NPA. Fortunately, Alpha Ramoshwana knew exactly what he was here to talk about and set us right on the path. And a crucial court case, by the way. I mean, Andy Mothibi does not have very many days in which to make a mark on the NPA. So any time lost, should the court find against him, would be quite a setback, I would have thought. But a case we'll be following closely. Alpha is right on top of that one. It's 3:30. 702 Drive. Let's get the very latest eyewitness news now with Mbali Dlamini. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. A very good afternoon. The Wynberg Magistrates Court has heard that a Bulgarian fugitive wanted by Interpol has been living in South Africa illegally. Stanislav Staminov was arrested in Cape Town last month following the issuing of an Interpol raid notice. Romanian authorities want him to serve a 16-year prison sentence for drug trafficking. The 40-year-old is now applying for bail in the Wynberg Magistrates Court. Ndutu Zelonene reports.
The state told the court that Staminov entered South Africa multiple times between 2011 and 2014 on a visitor's driver's visa. Prosecutors say this was revealed in affidavits from Interpol investigators and Home Affairs officials. In 2014, Stamenov applied to remain in the country to accompany his wife, who held a valid work permit. However, Home Affairs investigators later found that his permanent residency, granted in 2019, was obtained fraudulently through misrepresentation. Stamenov's South African ID has also been found to be obtained fraudulently. The prosecution argues Stamenov is a flight risk and should be denied bail. His bail application continues in the Wynberg Magistrates Court. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News.
A 16-year-old girl is fighting for her life in intensive care a week after she was severely injured in a crash involving her scholar transport in Ekurhuleni. The grade 10 learner was injured when a bakkie collided with a taxi, which was transporting 8 children to school. Jabuli Lembata has more.
The child's parents say with the injuries their daughter has suffered, they are concerned about whether she will recover to full health and be fit enough to play basketball professionally like before.
Fracture to the spine, and the neck, the skull, swelling in the brain.
Bleeding to the brain.
Yeah, swelling and bleeding to the brain, broken ribs. So those were the wrist.
Her parents say while some of her top achievements include representing South Africa for youth games, national tournaments, and being signed to the Soweto Panthers in the Basketball National League as the youngest player, she wants to go international.
Wherever she was, they reached the maximum for the particular league. So most of the teams that she played for Gauteng, they won twice gold with the ladies in Durban.
No one has been arrested for the crash, but police have confirmed that a case of reckless and negligent driving has been opened. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
KZN police say the suspect killed while allegedly attempting to rob an officer this morning is a known robber in the Berea area. Police says Per Msane is known for cell phone snatching. His family identified his body shortly after the shooting near a university campus in Durban this morning, Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
Police are combing through the scene where a police colleague dressed in civilian clothing escaped an attempted robbery and fired a fatal shot at his alleged attacker. Eyewitnesses say the officer was stuck in traffic when he was approached by the 20-year-old victim. Witnesses say the officer reacted when he saw the suspect pull out a knife and threatened to stab him. Sources have told EWN earlier this year the deceased survived being shot 5 times. A week ago, his father, a retired police officer, paid 10,000 for his bail after he was nabbed for attempted hijacking. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
And the families of the victims of an airstrike on a Kabul drug treatment center are preparing to bury their loved ones. The strikes were reported to have begun around 9 p.m. on Monday, claiming the lives of 400 people and injuring 200 more. Afghanistan has blamed the strike on Pakistan, a claim the country has rejected as false and misleading. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 25 and 28 degrees.
Sandton expect heavy delays. This is heading towards the M1 on Greyston Drive between Rivonia Road and the M1. 4 ways, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Witkoppen Road between Douglas Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive. There's also slow-moving traffic in the Bryanston area on Winnie Mandela Drive between Main and Witkoppen.
The top story in EWN, the Wynberg Magistrates Court has heard that a Bulgarian fugitive wanted by Interpol has been living in South Africa illegally.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Have you been writing a letter, dear man?
I remember those writing pads, they come in powder blue, pink, and I was doing standard 6. I wrote a letter to a girlfriend who dropped me. So while writing a letter, tears were running and, the new cars dropping on the same letter. So I became creative. I said, no, use those things and whatever you see on the letter, those are my tears. They were so hateful living without you. So I got her back.
That's a beautiful story. And who says there's no romance in writing letters?
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
On the 23rd of March, join Freedom Park and the National Heritage Council as we commemorate the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, a defining moment in Southern Africa's journey to freedom. Be part of a powerful day of reflection on resistance and liberation heritage, featuring a public lecture, wreath-laying ceremony, and messages of solidarity from African and international partners. Let's honor the courage, unity, and sacrifice that shaped our democracy. Freedom Park, Pretoria, 23 March 2026. Be there. Be part of the legacy.
For Olwethu Nxumalo of Ozide Rentals and Custom Dressmaking, every stitch is a story. What's your Telkom business chapter?
What made Telkom business stand out from all the rest was how fast everything was.
And with voice calling and fiber from Telkom Business, she stitches together inquiries and sources fabric online without dropping a thread.
Get unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month and Stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Let's be honest. Africa could be doing way better. But complaining won't change anything. Getting involved will. If you care about Africa's future and want to be part of something that disrupts the status quo, then this is for you. Download the Our Platform app, which focuses on problem solving, global competitiveness, and self-love. Africa is changing the narrative. Don't get left behind. Download Our Platform. Say hello to the new look Africa.
There's towing a boat. Then there's towing a boat. With your Ford Everest with Pro Trailer Backup Assist, making it look easy. That's peak living in the Ford Everest XLT from only $9,999 per month when financed through Ford Credit, a registered financial services and credit provider. 10% deposit, 5.85% variable interest rate, 40% residual, 72 months to pay. Risk profile dependent. Visit your nearest Ford dealer today. T&Cs apply.
Zakes owns an electrical business that lit up the neighborhood. Literally. One small spark, one big legal nightmare. But he has public liability insurance from Budget. The damage was covered and his client sorted. Sharp, sharp. To get public liability cover, visit budgetinsurance.co.za. Budget Insurance, official insurer for good South Africans. Budget is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. My name is Stefano. Yeah, what I learned in a relationship with a woman. As a man, I don't know, sometimes we need to reboot our brain. And we sit down, we relax. We need some time off. And that's something that women really don't like. They have to find you something to do, even if it's unnecessary, and you have to do it right now. If not, it is a problem. You start to watch a game or something, you have to do something like throw the husband outside or whatever it is. But yeah, see the woman sitting on the couch and relaxing 5-10 minutes. Yeah, that's something that they don't like.
Yeah, we asked the question, what have you learnt about women by being involved in a relationship with women? Yesterday we asked the same question. What did you learn about men and their habits being involved with men? Send those to us, please, on 072 702 1702. Farid asked this question, John, more than half of the country's Brent crude. I don't know if he means the countries, i.e. South Africa, because it's not very clear from the message. Comes from West Africa, so why the significant fuel price impact for us? Okay, you do mean South Africa, obviously, Farid, because you refer to us. So I think it's got sadly, nothing to do with where you get your oil from. Oil is priced on an international market. And when there's a shortage of oil, and there's a dire shortage of oil, not because there isn't any oil, but because of the conflict in and around Iran, they can't get the oil through the Strait of Hormuz. And we had a discussion about the actual layout and geography of that particular piece of waterway. There's just not enough oil getting out onto those international markets. And when you get a shortage of anything, you invariably get a hike in price. So if you look at the way the price of beef has gone up because of the impact on our national cattle herd of foot and mouth disease, you may live in a rural area where there's huge cattle lots. You could say, well, I'm close to where the cows are. I might even be very close to the abattoir. Doesn't mean you're going to get a cheap steak. Unless you happen to know somebody who's willing to give you some. But meat also finds its way, not in as regulated a form perhaps, but nevertheless finds its way onto markets where pricing is based on availability and demand. That seems to be the way it works. Farid, I hope that clarified that. But the fact that we're close to source doesn't mean the oil is going to be cheap. 19 minutes to 4.
EWN Sport.
Indeed, sports time on 7:02. Here we go.
A very good afternoon. I'm Alex White. It's do-or-die night across Europe in the UEFA Champions League. Barcelona host Newcastle with the tie finally balanced after a 1-1 draw in the first leg, while Tottenham face a mountain to climb against Atletico Madrid, trailing 5-2 on aggregate. Bayern Munich look all but through after hammering Atlanta 6-1 away, while Liverpool must overturn a 1-0 deficit at Anfield against Galatasaray. Here's manager Arne Slot on why he's positive about tonight.
Now, what of course makes it difficult is we've played them already twice and we lost twice against them. The good thing is that now for the first time we play at home.
Yesterday, Real Madrid knocked out Man City and Arsenal eased past Leverkusen to reach the quarter-finals, while PSG thumped Chelsea 3-0. Meanwhile, back home in the Betway Premiership, Sundowns beat Marumo Gallants 3-1. Tonight, Arrows host Stellenbosch. Late yesterday, the Blitzboks touched down on South African soil as Sevens Series champions. They still have the World Championship to play for across 3 tournaments. Here's coach Philip Sneymond to help you understand what that means.
With us being crowned the league champions, I don't think a lot of people know, but at the World Championship, the top 4 teams of Sevens 2 is joining, and then it will be the World Championship consisting of 12 teams. But everybody needs to qualify for the World Series for next year, except the number 1 in the league, and that's us now. So I think that monkeys off our back with the first team to qualify. All the other teams still need to qualify. So for me, that's a massive achievement.
I have a bonus point at the end for you if you know who won the World Championship last year. Then sticking with rugby, Argentina have announced that they are planning a bid to host the 2035 Rugby World Cup, potentially as part of a wider South American effort with matches in neighbouring countries. Next year's World Cup will be hosted in Australia, with 2031 set to be the first in the Americas when the United States host. Argentina's proposal aims to grow rugby across the region, but will face competition from other interested bidders, with a decision expected in the coming years. Finally, I asked you who won last Sevens World Championship that took place last year. It was the Blitzboks, who will defend their title in the upcoming championship over 3 tournament weeks. I'll be back in an hour for Eyewitness News Sport. I am Alex White.
EWN Traffic.
So it's 16 minutes to 4. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. Get all-inclusive fares, your seat, your meal and your baggage. It's all in. Book at flysaa.com. 16 minutes to 4. As I said, should be getting pretty much into rush hour. Sandton, I believe, is already a little tight.
Yeah, if you're leaving the Sandton area, John, at this stage, you can expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on Greyston Drive between Rivonia Road and the M1. There's also slow-moving traffic in Rivonia on Rivonia Road. This is between 12th Avenue and Van der Bijl. In Bryanston, traffic heavily backed up on Winnie Mandela Drive between Main and Witkoppen. Also bumper-to-bumper traffic in 4 ways on Witkoppen Road between Douglas Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive. And driving through the Joburg CBD heading towards Poisons, there's slow-moving traffic on the M1 southbound between Killarney Benz and the Crown Interchange. For the latest traffic update, you can also follow us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive. Coming up a little bit later in the show, we're going to be talking to Ngobile Ndlovu, who's the founder of Cash and Sport Research and Advisory, an expert on sport and the business of sport. And I'm really looking forward to getting his views on what really has been an extraordinary 24 hours for African football, because you may recall the African Cup of Nations final literally 2 months ago on the 18th of January. Senegal versus Morocco right at the end of the game. Senegal score a goal. It's disallowed. Soon after that, Morocco get a penalty. The Senegalese players walk off the pitch. Not every single one of them. And I make that point because Sadio Mane, the skipper, stays on the pitch and then goes into the dressing room, brings all the other players back. The match resumes and Senegal win it with a goal in deep into extra time by the Spanish-based player Papa Gueye. Then Morocco take this to the Confederation of African Football. They say, according to the rules, they should have been awarded the game. Senegal should have forfeited. And CAF has now come out and said that the winner of the 2026, you can't say it with any fanfare because it happened in a boardroom with lawyers, not footballers. But there it is. They're saying the game should have been declared a 3-0 win for Morocco according to the rules. And they are now the champions of Africa. Of course, the question would be, well, there are many questions. The one is, you might say rules are rules. Rules are rules. And if you stretch the rules in any sport, you are asking for trouble. The other, though, is, of course, there are rules and then there's reality. Nobody, but I think nobody, is really going to say Morocco won the African Cup of Nations in 2026. There may be some Moroccans and people who feel they were right who would argue that point, but stuck in people's minds is not only the goal that Papa Gueye scored, but also the penalty that Ibrahim Diaz of Morocco missed because they had a chance to win it, didn't take it. Yeah, it's an extraordinary situation. And what I want to do in advance of our conversation with Nobile is just get your point of view. I mean, how do you view it? It's unprecedented, and your thoughts would be great. 12 minutes to 4.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
Going to hear about a new private university being set up in South Africa. That's coming up shortly when we chat to Stan du Plessis, who's CEO of a company called Stadio. They've invested heavily in the sector, and I must admit it's a sector I don't know a great deal about. But let's just continue our conversation about what men have learned about women once they got involved in relationships with women. So, yeah, we've heard from various of our listeners, but yesterday the men commented on what we learn about men. So the female members of the team, Refuwe, what do you think men might have learned, for example, through being involved with you?
Why are you laughing, Karabo? How? Good afternoon, John, and to the rest of the 702 family. So I think I'm an incredible lover. I'll just put it out there.
Okay.
We all know this, and my former lovers know this. Anyway, so I think they've learned accountability. I'm very good at, if I've made a mistake, I will say. I'm the first one to say that. If I said I'll call you, I will call you. And if I can't call you, I'll message to say, John, I'm running 2 minutes late. I do apologize. And also just being human is something that I think they've learned from me. Be nice to yourself. Do something nice for you, for other people. Don't pour from an empty cup. So I always say this to Karabo, but he's not my lover. I just want to put it out there. I say to Karabo, take care of yourself. It's important that you take care of yourself. I teach them how to take care of themselves and stop being superheroes.
Okay, well, that all sounds like a great contribution to people and their lives. 702 Drive, a couple of you contributing your voice notes.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm Kora. It's my first time here. My name is Tebo. I'm from Soweto. What I've noticed about my woman is that she has that thing of saying that she doesn't want something if I ask her. But by the look of the eye, I could see that now she's just testing me. That what is it that she likes? So I'm just taking all the sweets, the nuts, as we're gonna say, thanks, you have a taste. So yeah, I've just noticed that ladies, they always say no for what they want, but then that time they want it. Thanks, man.
702 Drive, it's 9 minutes to 4.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Coming up a little bit later in the show, government is looking to more tightly regulate an area of the economy and of tourism that, we refer to, I think, generically as Airbnb, but there are, of course, other players in that space. But government wants tighter rules around that for a range of reasons. Tourism Minister Patricia Diddle joining us for that perspective at about 20 minutes past 5.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Is there tension, broadly speaking, North African football playing countries and those of sub-Saharan Africa? And are we really still one federation? Do you see the Moroccans and Egyptians treating each other like this? For example, Steve, who's your AFCON champion?
For me, Senegal.
Suspect many people will agree. Do you have a view on this?
Hi, Bongani. Had Morocco won the AFCON, Senegal would still face the charges. CAF needed to make an example of anyone who would behave like that.
Mateo, you're a football lover. Who's your AFCON champion?
Always be Senegal. You can never win a championship in a boardroom. It'll never be respected.
The rules are so specific around this, they say it becomes automatically 3-0.
Do you know what the fans will say to Morocco?
Say?
Who scored the 3 goals?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702. You're with John Perlman.
On 702.
So I have to say, whenever I think of universities, and this is a reflection of the narrowness of my perspective on this particular thing, my mind goes to the established traditional universities, Wits, where I graduated, UCT, Rhodes, Tuks, University of the Northwest, formerly Potchefstroom, and so on. But there is a whole world of tertiary education in South Africa that I was prompted to think about with a story that the JSE-listed company Stadio Holdings is about to set up a new campus in Durbanville in Cape Town. They're putting a lot of money into it as well, 205 million getting going to get that entity going. So I thought, let's have a chat to somebody who's very much involved in this world, not just for perspective on Stadio, but on the private university sector in general. Dr. Stan du Plessis is the CEO of Stadio, and he joins us on 702 Drive. Dr. du Plessis, welcome, and thanks for joining us. Give us a sense, if you will, before we talk specifically about Stadio and your plans, of the scale of this sector. I mean, I'm never even sure, should I be calling everything a university, or are there different degrees?
Good afternoon, John. At this point, the nomenclature in the country is in flux. We've, in the private sector, not been allowed to call ourselves universities. That's reserved for public higher education institutions. We are allowed to call ourselves private higher education institutions, but that's at the cusp of changing because legislation in October last year opened the door for privates to attain what we call university status. We're currently waiting the regulations for how that will be delivered, but when the regulations are published, we will be one of the institutions that will apply for university status.
So give us a sense of, let's go with Stadio. I mean, how many people in, and let me make sure I get this right, private higher education institution, have I got that right?
That's right.
Okay, good. I'm a quick learner. Maybe I'll enroll. but I mean, how many students are you guys working with?
We've got more than 40,000 students this year, so we are larger than most of the public universities that you mentioned at the beginning of the show.
What about academic recruitment? I mean, how deep is the pool of teachers, lecturers? I don't know if you call the most senior of those professors, but are there a lot of people in South Africa who can fill the jobs that you need filled?
Yes, we don't have a difficulty to recruit competent staff. We are not allowed to call them professors. That will again arrive with university status.
Okay.
So when we become a university, our most senior academics will then also be labeled as professors. But that's, at this point, we are able to recruit staff in all of our schools, and we are a multiple school private higher education institution. We have many disciplines. We have law, we have commerce, finance, engineering and architecture, IT, and so on. So it's comparable to a traditional university that has a multidiscipline offering. And we've never had difficulty to recruit the academic staff to deliver those programs.
I would think, given that you have investors, you JSE listed, people would want to know the extent to which your profile in the corporate HR sector might have changed over the years. So I don't know if in the beginning it's possibly a harder sell for Stadio graduates. Has that been getting easier? And is the corporate world not even, batting an eyelid when your graduates come along and say, hey, I think I'm the person for the job?
We actually work very closely with industry, John, and it's very deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of our two strategic foci. One is to widen access to affordable, quality higher education, and the second is to do that with programs that aim deliberately at the world of work. And so we don't leave that to chance. We engage very actively with industry bodies and with individual employers. And in those programs that we've put a lot of effort in, we're getting extremely good feedback from industry. Of course, you're right, we're only 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 years ago, nobody knew about us. But 5 years down the line, we've built a good reputation in those areas that we've specialized, and we study that very closely. So we do a survey with these employers on an annual basis, and we bring them into the program design. We also bring them as guest lecturers close to our programs. So it's not an accident. We have a very deliberate engagement with industry so that we can build this reputation, which, as you mentioned, isn't there naturally. We have to build it over time, and we're confident that we're building it.
And just finally, Dr. du Plessis, somebody who enrolls at Stadio or any equivalent amongst your peers and competitors, can they apply for NSFAS support?
They can't get NSFAS support. We've got bursary support and financial aid on our own system available to them. So NSFAS is reserved only for the public institutions. But it is very important for us that we keep our programs affordable. And so the way that we keep our programs affordable is to work in what we think is demonstrably a more efficient way than many of the public institutions. So from a price perspective,
yes,
South Africans of all walks of life can afford programs at an institution like Stadio, even if they can't get access to NSFAS. It's a very high priority for us. That's our market. Our market is, to a very large extent, first-generation students, both school leavers and
yes,
South Africans in later parts of their career who now have the opportunity to study. And it's very important for us to keep this affordable and accessible.
Thanks so much, Dr. Stan du Plessis, CEO of Stadio. As I said, I must admit, I know very little about the private higher education institutions that are hoping for a legislative change that would allow them to call themselves universities. If you've attended or lectured in a facility like that, Stadio, I understand, now has 40,000 students, which is a substantial number. Maybe you've got a thought and an experience to share. 072 702 1702.
We're on the ground and in the air with Thulani Sijo, founder of Take a Pic Drones. What's the flight plan for your connectivity?
The need for stable network connectivity is an absolute must in my field.
And with Telkom Business Fiber and Flexon, Thulani uploads high-res tower inspections and navigates seamlessly on the go. Get Stream Connect Fiber from 399 Rand per month and Flexon 4 Pro from 219 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Are corporate strategy sessions, family commitments, and fitness pursuits draining you? Stay on top of your game with the world's #1 nutritional supplement drink, Ensure Gold. With HMB and triple protein, it provides 20 essential vitamins and minerals and is clinically proven to boost energy, build muscle, and support immunity. Why settle when you can go for gold? Get the daily strength you need from Ensure Gold. Available at all leading supermarkets and pharmacies. Ensure, the strength experts.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here. This is EWN.
Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says he believes Senzo Mchunu was captured, and Kat Matlala says the state has no case against him. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says he is convinced that Minister Senzo Mchunu was captured and influenced when he issued the directive to disband the Political Killings Task Team. Mkhwanazi is back before Parliament's ad hoc committee today, which is investigating allegations of police corruption. He is appearing to give his closing evidence. Mkhwanazi says he believes there was indeed a corrupt relationship between Northwest businessman Brown Mokgotsi and Mchunu, who is currently on special leave. Babalondenze reports.
Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has doubled down on his initial claims that Minister Senzo Mchunu's decision to disband the PKTT was not his decision alone. He says Mchunu and other politicians he didn't mention are corrupted and are victims to outside influence. Mkhwanazi was asked whether he believed Mchunu and Brown Mokgotsi had a corrupt relationship by evidence leader Norman Arendse.
A potentially corrupt relationship existed between an alleged associate of the Minister of Police, named as Mr. Brown Mokgotsi, and the Minister of Police, Mr. Mchunu. Is that still your view? That is correct.
Mkhwanazi further submitted that Mchunu was doing someone else's bidding when he issued his directive.
I believe, I'm still saying here, Honorable Sangwa, that Minister Mchunu was captured to end up writing that letter.
Mkhwanazi also says Mchunu erased key messages in his government-issued devices, but they are able to retrieve the information. His evidence continues. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The attempted murder case against alleged crime boss Vusumuzi Kat Matlala took an unexpected turn today. Matlala's lawyer told the Johannesburg High Court that her client wants his trial to be separated because there is no case against him. Matlala and his 4 co-accused are facing 25 charges, including 11 of attempted murder. Some of the charges are linked to the attempted murder of Matlala's socialite ex-girlfriend, Tebogo Tobejane. Advocate Annelie van der Heever says the evidence against her client is flawed.
My client believes it's in the interest of justice that we cut through the chase. We run this case for the 2 witnesses that he believes are pertinent in this matter. Make very clear, because we believe it's inadmissible evidence. The opinion of some police officers is, in my opinion, it was a hit that was organized. It's impermissible in any case and inadmissible. So that is what my instructions are at this.
President Cyril Ramaphosa's legal team maintains there is no valid basis for the challenge against Endi Mothibi's appointment as the head of the NPA. The Pretoria High Court heard arguments from law firm Bixulu and Partners Incorporated today, which believes Mothibi's appointment was fundamentally flawed. The firm argues that Mothibi should have undergone a public interview process conducted by the advisory panel established by the president. The panel concluded that none of the 6 interviewed candidates were suitable for the position, prompting the president to appoint Mothibi directly. While the law firm believes this was irregular, the presidency's legal representative, Advocate Dikeledi Chabedi, disagrees.
The application must be dismissed with cause of true cancer. One can see, because this application was unnecessary, my lord. It's really, there's no reason why we should be here today.
Government has appointed an administrator to oversee daily operations of the Ingonyama Trust Board. The decision follows the recent resignation of 2 members from the board, leaving it with only 4, below what is a required quorum. The board, chaired by Zulu monarch Mrs. Zulu Gwazwelithini, is in charge of almost 3 hectares of land held in the KwaZulu-Natal province, and it generates millions of rands through leases. Nhlanhla Mabaso has more.
For years now, the controversial Ingonyama Trust Board has been marred with allegations of maladministration. Since his ascension to the Zulu throne, King Mrs. Zulu Gwazwelithini made changes in its chairmanship, citing concerns about traditional leaders playing very little to no role in the board. Land Reform and Rural Development Minister Mzwanele Nyonso says with the recent exit of board members, operations are unsuitable. The minister says while government has appointed an administrator to run daily affairs of the board, the remaining members will be attended to with due process. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
And in the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer is urging young people who visited a nightclub at the centre of a deadly meningitis outbreak to come forward. The call comes after the number of cases rose in the past 24 hours from 15 to 20. 2 young people have died as a result. The deceased are a 21-year-old university student and an 18-year-old high school student. Health experts are now working to identify the close contacts of those who may have contracted the life-threatening condition. Meningitis is a potentially deadly infection affecting the protective membrane surrounding the brain as well as the spinal cord. Gold is trading at $4,874.15 an ounce. The rand is at 16.84 to the dollar, 22.43 to the pound, 19.38 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $107.87 a barrel.
Santon heading towards the M1. You can expect about a 20-minute delay on Greyston Drive. This is between Rivonia Road and the M1 in Santon. Still heading towards Midrand bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 northbound between Ethel Auckland and the Batlu interchange, while in Rivonia traffic sluggish on Rivonia Road between 12th Avenue and Van der Bijl.
In your sport, Barca, Spurs, Reds and Bayern endure die night in the Champions League. Argentina eyes bid for the 2035 Rugby World Cup. And Titans win the toss and bat against Warriors in the One Day Cup.
A partly cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 14 degrees, peaking at 25. Pretoria 16 and 28, and Vereeniging 14 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi says he is convinced that Minister Senzo Mchunu was captured and influenced when he issued the directive to disband the political killings task team.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 9 minutes past 4. Good to have you with us on the show. Coming up a little bit later, we're going to be hearing about KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee, looking into the many issues that he raised way back in July. It is his second appearance. Should Airbnb and other similar products in the tourism industry be more tightly regulated? Government believes it should. We'll talk to Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille about that at 20 past 5. And over the next half an hour, we'll continue our conversation about the City of Johannesburg's plans to spend 23.6 million rand preparing a number of buildings to receive artworks currently at risk of destruction or theft at the Joburg Art Gallery, a facility that houses probably the most valuable collection of art on the African continent, currently in a state of complete disrepair. All of that and more on 7:02 Drive. It's 10 minutes past 4.
7:02. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi John, my comment about what men have learned is in every man there's a little boy, and in every woman there's a little psycho. Thanks.
Good afternoon, 702. Mr. Perlman, I mean, like you said, right, no one in their right mind would go around saying that Morocco won the Africa Cup of Nations, because we all know that matches are won in the pitch. Yes, rules are rules, fine. Sharp Morocco, they will take the money, but we all know that Senegal outplayed Morocco and they were the better team at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course, the better team doesn't always win the game on the pitch, but that's a debate for another day. 11 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. See just how far you can go with them. Book at flysaa.com. Do it now. Karabo Charlie, what's the latest on the road? Santon, you mentioned earlier, was already getting a little bit busy. Is that carrying on?
Yeah, a couple of issues in the Santon area. Let me start. If you are leaving Santon, expect about a 20-minute delay. Heading towards the M1, this is on Grayston Drive between Rivonia Road and the M1. Heading towards Midrand, still in Santon, bumper traffic. M1 northbound between Ethel Oaklands and the Bacloons Change and Rivonia. Traffic sluggish on Rivonia Road between 12th Avenue and Van der Bijl. In Bryanston, traffic heavily backed up heading into four-ways on Winnie Mandela Drive between Main Road and Witkoppen. Also in four-ways, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Witkoppen Road between Douglas Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive. In the Joburg CBD, there's slow-moving traffic. This is heading towards Poisons on the M1 southbound from Killarney Benz to the Crown Interchange and traveling from Irene to Tembisa. There's slow-moving traffic on the R21 southbound. This is due to roadworks between Nomapius Drive and the R25 Buffsfontein off-ramp. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
With Outsurance, saving on your car insurance feels like scoring the last cinnamon donut at the bakery. 45-year-old Niven saves an unbelievable 461 Rand a month on his 2025 Volkswagen T-Cross. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's, and information online.
For Mamotati and Kensani of Design News, a beautiful room starts with a rock-solid connection. Tell us what was slowing down your growth.
It would have to be slow network coverage.
Now, Telkom Business Fiber lets the team process large renders while the landline keeps supplier calls coming in.
Get Call Light Fiber from 655 Rand per month and unlimited VoIP 1 from 99 Rand per month. Call 10213 or click telkom.co.za. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
The Audi Open House Sales Event is here and you're invited. Come test drive a wide range of Audi models, take advantage of exclusive offers, and stand a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Formula One, courtesy of Audi. The Audi Open House Sales Event is now on until 30th of April at Audi dealerships nationwide. Book your test drive today at audi.co.za. Terms and conditions apply. You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. So yesterday we began a very important discussion, I think. At issue, of course, is the absolutely invaluable and irreplaceable collection of art that is currently housed under very insecure circumstances at the Johannesburg Art Gallery. Questions around security, much more profoundly questions about the integrity of the building with water and rain and many other factors potentially putting, as I say, irreplaceable and therefore priceless works of art at risk. But the conversation on the table at the moment is the decision by the City of Johannesburg, which has a budget of 50 million Rand to deal with this problem, to allocate 23.6 million Rand of that amount to preparing 4 facilities to actually receive the artworks while the gallery is actually fixed. Questions have been asked about that money and whether it could have been done differently. Vuyisile Mshudulu is the Director of Arts, Culture and Heritage in the city of Johannesburg and joins us on the show. Mr. Mshudulu, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time. Concerns expressed, for example, that the Brixton Multi-Purpose Centre is not fit for purpose and insufficiently secure. How confident are you that these 4 facilities that will receive all this priceless art are actually going to be up to the task? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Tata John. Good afternoon to the listeners. I think it is a bit premature to make a judgment call on the suitability of a facility when it is still under construction.
Yes.
So I just want to step back a little bit and indicate that the city of Johannesburg has taken the conscious decision to craft a Johannesburg Art Gallery refurbishment and relocation plan. And the executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg communicated that the city has made available money for the first phase of a multi-layer and a multi-year project, which is intended for the refurbishment of the JAG, but also linked to that, it's the relocation of the collection so that to allow the building to be refurbished with the collection being in a safe space. We have extensively gone out and looked at various facilities to look at facilities that may be suitable. And this also includes the facility you were talking about yesterday, which is Disong. And we found that none of these facilities actually were perfectly fitting to house the collection in terms of the required conservation standards, museum standards for the JAG collection. So what we have done as a city was that we then identified facilities within the city of Johannesburg that can be retrofitted to make sure that they comply with these requirements. Because the money that has been allocated was not purely for the refurbishment, was for both the refurbishment and the relocation of the artwork, and to make sure that whilst the building is being refurbished, the artworks are in a safe space. So what have we done then since then is that we've identified Museum Africa, which is also currently operating as a museum, holding heritage assets of the city, and we identified a space within that is retrofitted to sort of meet the more specific requirements for the art collection of the JAG. And the retrofitting has been underway, and we are now at the final stages where we are now testing the systems, and we have the type of retrofitting that has been done includes, amongst others, to an HVAC system that is suited for a museum of art collections. We have done a full security assessment, and also then retrofitted a multi-dimensional security system,
yes,
which includes physical security and electronic security. And we have also ensured that we've got a fire protection mechanism that is suited for the type of collection that we'll be keeping in the building.
So, Mr. Mshudulu, I just want to get finally and briefly, if you can, we had your colleague, Mr. Modengwane, Ntatisi Modengwane from Communications saying that, because I asked the question as to why, when we've heard that there was a willingness from the Friends of the Johannesburg Art Gallery and the Joburg Heritage Foundation, plus private sector donors, to actually do something that wouldn't cost the city as much money as this is going to cost the citizens of Johannesburg. He said there was never a concrete offer on the table. Is that your view as well?
So what has happened is that the city wrote to the Johannesburg Heritage Foundation and the Friends of JAG through their lawyers, and we indicated that there are prescribed processes within the city of Johannesburg for the acceptance of donations and for the completion of collaborations and partnerships. And they have been advised on the steps that they need to follow to comply with the city's requirements, and they have not done so to date. Secondly, in terms of the confirmation of funding, we have also requested the Friends and the Heritage Foundation to furnish us with written commitments from the companies that they say they have been engaging,
Yes.
so that those commitments can outline what the specific amounts these companies are pledging and what conditions are attached to those pledges, so that the city can then process those in terms of its internal processes and also formally accept those donations.
Thank you very much. Vuyisile Mshudulu is Director of Arts, Culture and Heritage in the city of Johannesburg. Well, let's hear now from the Friends of the Johannesburg Art Gallery. Managing agent is Eben Kian. Mr. Kian, welcome and thanks very much for your time. Mr. Mshudulu, very clear there that they sent you a letter setting out their terms and they would like to know in the specific what the offer on the table actually is. Both him and Mr. Madingwane yesterday suggesting that while you made intentions clear, you were not putting anything concrete on the table. What is your response to that?
Thank you so much, John. First, I just wanted to mention who the Friends of Jag and what the Friends of Jag is about. We turned 50 years old this year. It was started by a group of women who supported the mayor around from 1973 to 1976. So the Jag and its collection has been built with support of civil society,
yes,
corporates, and other people for whom the Friends of Jag, from whom the Friends of Jag raise funds. At no point in history was there ever a request that we must disclose home addresses of the directors of people who give money to the Friends of Jag. We're a registered PBO in South Africa. We get audited by SARS. We tick all the boxes. So when the city came with this notion of we must now, if a big foundation wants to give us money, we must disclose the home addresses of their directors to the city, it sounded a little bit weird. We have subsequently received other information from a different part of the city about better opportunities for collaboration, where there is a little bit more of a sensical request of what is the details of ourselves, our own directors, etc. And that sounds a little bit better. I also want to just state that it was not through a letter that we made these offers. It was through the Presidential Johannesburg Working Group back that was set up specifically to try and unlock the impasse that has developed around
yes,
the Jag. Some of the issues around the Jag are what we call sticky property issues. They are things that just go around in cycles. Unfortunately, the city has a very good track record when it comes to recent botched renovations around the Jag building, and so it's understandable that funders wouldn't want to give money directly to the city. So it's important that we have public benefit organizations in South Africa that can, with all the checks and balances in place, contribute to shared facilities like the.
So, but can I come in there, Mr. Kian? I mean, at issue, I think for many of our listeners would be, in the end, negotiations take place around a number and a certainty that whoever says they will put money in will put money in. Did you put down a number, and did you offer guarantees that were you to entrust both the Heritage Foundation and the Friends of Jag with the relocation of the work, that A, you would have sufficient money, and B, that the people who were promising it were good for it? I mean, what was eventually on the table? I don't know how much detail you can share about that, but it seems the devil is in the detail.
Absolutely. So the REJAG plan, which is essentially what we have been tabling to the city through the Presidential Johannesburg Working Group over more than a year now, has identified Ditsong as a space which is a national key point. It is where some of the most important national assets are kept. So for the city to say that it's not museum standard is a little bit disingenuous. We came up with a plan after working with architects, heritage specialists, really the top talent that we have in the country, and we came up with a plan. We estimated that it would cost 20 million rand to upgrade a specific facility within Ditsong, and that we would do it at our account. So it wouldn't cost the city money. We would relocate the work there, and we would go a step further and digitize the entire collection. We believe that the people of Johannesburg and South Africa have a right to know what's in the collection and to be able to engage with it. If you try and engage with a collection, you'll hit a brick wall very quickly. So it's quite impossible for anybody to establish whether you're a researcher, whether you're a scholar, together what is in that collection that we argue belong to the people. Remember, it was left in the trust of the city for the benefit of the people of Joburg. So we have a right, as a citizens of Joburg, to know what belongs to us, what's in this collection, what state is it in, where does it travel to, all of those kinds of things. And so everything that we've done, we feel we've really ticked all the boxes on good governance, and that's what's necessary for us.
So back to the 20 million, that was your estimated cost. Was that money that you still needed to raise, or were you able to the presidential working group for Joburg say, this is the money, these are the guarantors, and we can start next week, next month, in 3 months?
Absolutely. And to give you an idea, the Song is a facility that falls under our national department.
Yes.
We do believe that we need all levels of government to collaborate with civil society and the private sector in order to solve these issues. And so we were quite hopeful last year that through this Presidential Johannesburg Working Group, we arrived at a point with the JDA that we felt we had a partnership. Unfortunately, the city never responded to the partnership agreement we sent, and the next thing we heard that the city was starting to make unilateral decisions. And that was a little bit disheartening for us because we thought that we can all work together. We believe that only through a multi-stakeholder partnership can these issues be solved. Backing. We also want to ensure that there's oversight for transparency, for good government. There has to be oversight, and the city does not seem to respond very well to this notion of oversight. At no point did we suggested that we want to take control of this collection. It was always based on the idea that we would work in partnership with the city, with the curators and JAG, and that has always been the precedent over the 50 years of the existence of the Friends of JAG.
Thank you so much, Eben Kian. So two very different points of view and very different versions on what actually transpired. At issue is a lot of money. Does it have to come from the city's coffers, or was there an opportunity for this to be done with private sector money? For those of you perhaps are not as invested in the idea of Johannesburg having a world-class and vital source of art, I think the numbers at least will have got your attention. 20 million, 23.6 million. Could it all have been funded without it coming from the money that you as ratepayers, for example, generate? We are not going to solve this all in this conversation. We've certainly learned a lot more. Eben Kian, managing agent of the Friends of the Johannesburg Art Gallery. Before that, we heard Vuyisile Mshudulu, Director for Arts, Culture and Heritage in the city of Johannesburg. 28 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo Chali, good afternoon.
Afternoon, John. Well, in Midrand at this stage, heading towards Sandton, there's an accident scene, N1 southbound before Allendale Road, causing huge delays from New Road, Sandton. You can also expect about a 20-minute delay on Greyston Drive between Rivonia Road and the M1. Still in Sandton, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 northbound. This is between Ethel Oaklands and the Patloo Interchange, and in Rivonia, traffic sluggish on Rivonia Road between 12th Avenue and Van der Bijl. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like the lady on her way to work, listening to a love song on the radio. She's recreating the music video in her mind with herself as the leading lady. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a concert on the move. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a very good afternoon to you. Lots of red, man.
Yeah, all over the place, I'm afraid, John. So oil prices are higher. I mean, Brent crude touching almost $109 a barrel. Gold prices are much weaker, falling below $4,900. And that having the kind of impact that you would expect to see. The oil share down 2.35%, 114,498 points. Financials down 0.5%. Industrials down nearly 2%. Resources down, 5% on the day so far, John, and I fear it's not going to get much better. Lots of reasons, of course, but all about the conflict around Iran. Sabania down nearly 10%, Alpha Min down nearly 9. Goldfields down by 8. Pan-African Resources 7.6. Harmony Northern, it goes on and on and on. Trueworths, interestingly, down nearly 7% on the day. And Prosus down 5.5%, despite the fact that Tencent in Asia today had a really strong update, it seemed. The energy company Thungela, they're up nearly 5%. MTN results out earlier in the week, they're up 2.3%. And Grindrod's up 2%. Some of the sort of property shares doing okay. Attack up nearly 2%. Fortress Properties up 1.5%. And Telkom up 1.56%. I suspect it's also because of interest rate expectations, because as you know, John, inflation coming in lower. So finally an end in sight to what I think we need to call BRI price inflation. On a month-on-month basis, you'll be pleased to know beef prices dropped by around 1%, still 12% higher than they were in February last year. Stats SA saying inflation in February down to 3%. Fuel prices were lower. That's going to change. Medical aid companies only introduced their increases later in the year. We can't really read too much into this because oil prices are going to send all of this. I'm not going to tell you, but they're going to mess it all up. The chicken producer Astral, its earnings per share, they're expected to jump over 300% for the 6 months to the end of March. Strong demand for chicken, it says. And BHP getting a new CEO, Brandon Craig. Yes, he was made with pride in Mzansi. He'll take over from Mike Henry. He's been in office for 6.5 years in the job. In the US, so they had higher than expected producer price inflation figures. That suggests that there won't be an interest rate cut, basically ruling it out. Particularly also oil prices. The Dow Jones down 0.75%, the Nasdaq down 0.14%, the S&P 500 down 0.23%. The gold price $4,886.87, platinum $2,066.30, Brent crude $108.82, the rand to the dollar $16.85, to the euro $19.39, to the British pound $22.42. More misery in an hour. Stephen Critter, CWN Business.
Thanks very much, Stephen, to the very latest Eyewitness News now with Mbali Dlamini. Stephen back with us in about 15 minutes' time. Mbali.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Top cop Fani Nkosi has once again faced a grilling at the Madlanga Commission for sharing confidential police information with civilians, this time with an unknown taxi boss. WhatsApp chats before the commission today show Nkosi frequently shared information with a man he referred to only as Mampane Taximan. Nkosi says he doesn't know Mampane's name, but described him as a taxi owner who was close to the late taxi boss John Mswazi Msibi. Nkosi regularly shared police reports with Mampane, including insider details relating to the corruption investigation against the head of crime intelligence, Dumsani Khumalo.
I don't want to defend something that is undefendable, but by the time that this thing was sent to Mr. Mambane, it was already in public, but I understand, I take it was wrong.
Evidence leader Matthew Chaskilson pressed Nkosi on why he shared a lot of information with Mampane relating to the head of crime intelligence.
I don't think that Mr. Mampane had any bad intentions, and I also don't think that Mr. Mampane knows Mr. Khumalo that he would wish something bad had happened to him. I was only circulating this on the basis that people in his industry are interested in the police things.
Retired top cop Jeremy Vieri says gangs will continue to flourish if the numbers gang culture is not addressed. Vieri joined panelists at a seminar hosted by the University of the Western Cape today, aimed at confronting gangsterism and social dysfunction in the province. The event brought together civil society leaders, clerics, government, police, academics and affected communities. Carlo Peterson has more.
Former top cop and gang expert Jeremy Vieri says the numbers gang subculture keeps street gangs in operation in the Western Cape and other parts of the country. Vieri says the subculture has been around for 200 years and cannot be addressed by policing alone.
But it makes our gangs as organized as they are today. It gives them the kind of almost spiritual fervor with which they conduct things.
The former head of detectives in the Western Cape says the numbers gang creates a reality for gangsters where prison is not a deterrent.
So when you have a boy of 15 telling you he wants to grow up to be a 28 general, then you realize education has failed, churches have failed, every form of moral education has failed.
Vieri says the subculture creates a binding network of criminality across the country, both inside prisons and within communities. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News at UWC.
And President Cyril Ramaphosa has congratulated a medical team that successfully separated conjoined twins at the Mankweng Hospital in Limpopo. The team was led by Professor Nyaweleni Chifularo. The babies were born in January and separated yesterday. The president spoke to the team on the phone soon after the procedure.
Just wanted to congratulate you all for this unbelievable, miraculous operation that you did on the 2-month-old babies and have separated them in a rural hospital. I say rural advisedly because it's in Mankweng, which is the village next to the university that I went to, University of the North. I am just so pleased and happy.
A partly cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers expected. Lows of between 14 and 16 degrees and highs of between 25 and 28.
In Midrand, accidents seen N1 southbound before Ellendale, causing huge delays from New Road. Also still in Midrand, expect about a 20-minute delay on Old Pretoria Road between Brakfontein Road and New Road, and in Tembisa, traffic pressure R205 northbound approaching Olifantsfontein Road.
The top story in EWN, top cop Fani Nkosi has once again faced a grilling at the Malanga Commission for sharing confidential police information with civilians, this time with an unnamed taxi boss.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja,
1 to 3 p.m.
What is normal retirement before we talk about what early retirement is?
There is no statutory retirement age in South Africa. Normally, if you're employed, your retirement age is governed by your employment contract. The South African government does offer a state old age pension, which is payable when you reach age 65. But that's not retirement age. You can retire at any time that you want to. So if you're older than 55, if you take your pension in the form of a retirement benefit, you can then get the favourable tax treatment that is available in terms of our tax structure.
Natasha Hugert-Henschel, who is consulting actuary at NMG Benefits.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Managing your workforce shouldn't be complicated. That's why businesses choose Onacy, a proudly South African cloud-based payroll and HR solution. From payroll and e-recruitment to performance management and self-service tools, we streamline the way businesses handle their people. Scalable, secure, and always online, our system evolves with your needs because your workforce deserves the best. Switch to Onacy and experience payroll and HR done right. Visit onacy.com today.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is street ahead. Warrior Paints, affordable, lasting, luxury.
Zakes owns an electrical business that lit up the neighborhood. Literally. One small spark, one big legal nightmare. But he has public liability insurance from Budget. The damage was covered and his client sorted. Sharp. To get public liability cover, visit budgetinsurance.co.za. Budget Insurance, official insurer for good South Africans. Budget is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, John. Brilliant show as always. JP here. Just with respect to the Johannesburg Art Gallery debacle, with the huge corruption in South Africa and all the underhands that is being given by politicians and municipalities and government, the devil's advocate question always jumps to mind is there no sinister transaction whereby somebody will benefit from this 24 million rand? And that is the reason why the municipality don't want to make use of private funders, because somebody is going to benefit from this government or this municipal tender. Maybe it's an unfair comment to make, but I think history has shown that there's so much corruption that this is a logical question to be asked. Thanks, John. Have a nice day.
702 Drive. If you missed all the interviews we've done in regard to the Johannesburg Art Gallery and the 23.6 million rand of Joburg's Metro money that is on the table to create places where the arts that's currently in the Joburg Art Gallery can be stored. In the face of that, there are people, the Friends of the Joburg Art Gallery, the Joburg Heritage Foundation, saying they had private sector money where this could be done for nothing. Yeah, it's an ongoing debate. But yesterday we spoke to David Fleminger of the Joburg Heritage Foundation. We spoke to Ntatisi Madingwane from the city of Johannesburg. He's the Deputy Head of Communications. I think I've got his title correct. I hope so. And then today, a couple more interviews. So have a listen to them in that sequence because it's an unfolding debate. And even if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't go much to art galleries, I think 23.6 million rand of the city's money ought to get your attention. And by the way, let me throw in the other word, irreplaceable, because if art gets damaged or stolen or anything happens to it, it is literally irreplaceable. You can't say simply, please paint me another Gerard Sekoto painting. It's not going to happen. It can't be done because it shouldn't be done. It's 18 minutes to 4. It's time for sport.
EWN Sport.
A very good afternoon. I'm Alex White. It's do or die night across Europe in the UEFA Champions League. Barcelona host Newcastle with the tie finally balanced after a 1-1 draw in the first leg, while Tottenham face a mountain to climb against Atletico Madrid, trailing 5-2 on aggregate. Boss Tudor doesn't think it's impossible though.
Everything to play again, still to play. Believe that we can do it. That's the important thing from the start.
Bayern Munich look all but through after hammering Atalanta 6-1 away, while Liverpool must overturn a 1-0 deficit at Anfield against Galatasaray. Here's manager Arne Slot on why he's positive about tonight.
Now, what of course makes it difficult is we've played them already twice and we lost twice against them. The good thing is that now for the first time we play at home.
Yesterday, Real Madrid knocked out Man City and Arsenal eased past Leverkusen to reach the quarter-finals, while PSG thumped Chelsea. Meanwhile, back home in the Betway Premiership, Sundowns beat Marumo Gallants 3-1. Tonight, Arrows host Stellenbosch. Then big drama in AFCON. 2 months after the final, Senegal have been stripped of their title, with CAF awarding the trophy to Morocco after ruling that Senegal forfeited the final by walking off the pitch in protest during the match. The original 1-0 extra time win has been overturned to a 3-0 result in Morocco's favour. Now, of course, Senegal have condemned the decision and confirmed plans to appeal. We'll bring you more on that as it happens. Late yesterday, the Blitzboks touched down on South African soil as 7 Series champions. They still have the World Championship to play for across 3 tournaments. Here's coach Philip Snyman to help you understand what that means.
With us being crowned the league champions, I don't think a lot of people know, but at the World Championship, the top 4 teams of Sevens 2 is joining, and then it will be the World Championship consisting of 12 teams. But everybody needs to qualify for the World Series for next year, except the number 1 in the league, and that's us now. So I think that monkeys off our back with the first team to qualify. All the other teams still need to qualify. So for me, that's a massive achievement.
Then Argentina have announced that they are planning a bid to host the 2035 Rugby World Cup, potentially as part of a wider South American effort with matches in neighbouring countries. Argentina's proposal aims to grow rugby across the region, but will face competition from other interested bidders, with the decision expected in the coming years. Finally, a reminder that Steyn City welcomes some of the world's top golfers for Live Golf South Africa from tomorrow. All South African sides, Southern Guards GC, are currently 6th on the log. I'll be back in an hour for Eyewitness News Sport. I am Alex.
EWN Traffic.
Right, at 4:45, let's get the very latest news from out on the roads. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. Get all-inclusive fares, your seat, your meal, and your baggage. It's all in. Book at flysaa.com. If you're out in Midrand, you're going to need some patience, I believe, Karabo.
Yeah, that's if you are heading towards the Sandton area. There's an accident seen Midrand on the N1 southbound before Allendale, causing huge delays all the way from New Road. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic. Actually expect about a 20-minute delay still in Midrand on Old Pretoria Road between Brakfontein Road and New Road, while in Tembisa, traffic pressure R21 northbound approaching Olifantsfontein Road. In Sandton, expect about a 20-minute delay on Grayston Drive between Rivonia Road and the M1. Still in Sandton, heading towards Midrand, bumper-to-bumper traffic, M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands all the way to the Patlu interchange. Rivonia, traffic sluggish on Rivonia Road. This is between 12th Avenue and Van der Bijl. Bryanston, traffic heavily backed up on Winnie Mandela Drive between Main Road and Witkoppen. Four ways, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Witkoppen Road between Douglas Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive. In Polshof, also expect some delays on Witkoppen Road. This is between Main Road and Stonehaven. Sunning Hill, traffic gridlocked on Witkoppen Road between Rivonia Road and Maxwell. And finally, driving through the Joburg CBD heading towards Boysen, slow-moving traffic on the M1 South from Killarney Bend to the Crown interchange. For more traffic updates, you can follow us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
You're now listening to 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive, it's 13 minutes to 5. So I don't know if you know this. Some of you probably would because you're involved in that world. But this is the International Week of Music Education. I may not have given the wording exactly right. I'll tidy it up in a minute. But obviously what it refers to is stressing the importance of musical education being part of general education. So I'm just wondering about this. Were you ever encouraged to learn a musical instrument, be part of a choir, get involved in music at a young age? And if you were, and if you did, tell us how that went. What did you learn to play, or did you learn to sing, get better at it, join a choir, or whatever? I'll tell you my own very, very brief story, and it is a story of some regret, I have to say, because I always wanted to play the guitar because the guitar looked really cool. And I never ever got out of the starting blocks because my parents in general, but my mother in particular, said the way you learn music is you learn the piano. So you have to learn to play the piano, and after that we can think about you learning to play the guitar. And there was a piano in the house. So it was a standoff, and you know, the thing was never resolved. And I really, really regret that I didn't take that opportunity, because now if you said to me what musical instrument, if you could play one, you would play, I would say the piano. And you know, every couple of years, I wouldn't call it a resolution, but I make a sort of a little half-baked decision and say, okay, this year I'm going to do piano lessons. I've never got to it, but hey, who knows, it may still happen. So your journey of learning to play music or make music with others or sing or whatever it might be, tell us your story, please. I'd love to hear it. Jonathan Fairburn, piano, guitar, anything in your past that you could think about, refer to as the music career you almost had?
Yeah, growing up, no, there was never any encouragement to play a musical instrument or the piano in the house or anything like that. But you know, in my later years, I often thought, sure, it must have been lovely to be able to play the piano or even a really nice electronic keyboard. And then I watched this series called Nashville.
Okay.
And after watching Nashville...
The drama, hey?
Yeah, the drama. It's country music and all that kind of stuff. I thought to myself, got to learn to play the guitar. And I was very, very keen to learn it. And then that kind of flame just died.
Yes.
Sadly. But I mean, like, you get some of these people who, instead of reading music, they learn to play instruments just by ear. I remember our head boy at school, he learned to play the piano purely, he can't read music, but purely by ear, and he played it very, very well. So I'd also love if somebody has been able to do that to give us a call. But my next thing, which I'm going to do, is learn to play the harmonica.
Much more portable than a piano.
Exactly.
So, and if it's going to cause ructions at home with you grinding out some terrible sounds, we've got a lot of space here. You could even do it in the car, when you're at a traffic light.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are laws about that. I know you can't use your phone without a hands-free, but, you get one of those stands. No harmonica playing unless it's a hands-free. Okay, so Jono's going to be playing the harmonica when he's mastered some of it. He'll give us a little short performance perhaps in a couple of months' time. Karabo Charlie, did you learn to play anything? Any plans if you didn't?
Yeah, my first salary, I bought a guitar.
Okay.
And then I thought I could teach myself, but then that task was impossible. And then I made sure that my son learns a instrument. So I enrolled him into a music school. He started off with penny whistle.
Yeah.
He hated it, but then I would just force him to go to school and just give it a go. But he hated it, and I could see every time he had to go to school, he would be like depressed and moaning.
Yes.
And then he changed, and now he plays the guitar and the piano. And
oh, wow.
all of a Sunday, he says, when I grow up, I want to be a rock star. So he's enjoying the guitar.
Fantastic.
And I'm loving it because it teaches him discipline and to focus. And it's a great journey. I'm enjoying it.
So how do you get your child to love playing the piano, which would have been useful for me? Make them play the penny whistle. That's the way to get them there. By the way, it's called International Teach Music Week. And I thought it'd be an interesting time to just get your thoughts and stories about your own relationship to music, whether you pursued it when you were younger, who encouraged you, and how far did it go? Give me a call on that on 072 702 1702, 8 minutes to 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, sport produces many astonishing and sometimes bewildering stories, but I think this one really is right up there. Just to state the bare facts, on the 18th of January, Senegal, in very controversial circumstances, I don't think we can deny that, won the African Cup of Nations. They walked off the field in protest at a late in the game award of a penalty to Morocco. They stayed off for longer than I think the rules allow. I think we can all reach agreement on that. Came back, Morocco took the penalty, missed it. Senegal scored very, very late, won the match 1-0, and you would have thought that was that, except it wasn't, because Morocco protested. The Confederation of African Football has stripped Senegal of the title of 2026 AFCON champions, and Morocco now have the title. Senegal, by the way, are going to approach the Commission for Arbitration in Sport, which is based in Switzerland. We know it quite well because Caster Semenya pursued that route, I think, more than once. But here we are. I can't quite get my head around this, but here's somebody who I'm sure can. Ngobile Ndlovu is the founder of Cash and Sport Research and Advisory. Ngobile, welcome, and thanks so much for giving us your time. I mean, what do you make of this? Morocco may well have won the battle, I thought, but in many ways they've lost the war. Who's going to regard them as African champions outside of Morocco? And even there, I wonder if this might be a hollow victory. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's two camps here, John. I think the people who regard them as champions are those who stick to the rules strictly and look for the enforcement of the rules. Because it's quite right to say the moment Senegal walked off the pitch, Article 34 of FIFA statutes essentially says the moment you walk off the pitch, you forfeit the match and you lose 3-0. So whether the referee called them back or not, the moment they walked off, they forfeit the match. The problem then is that they did walk off, but the referee then called them back, and Sadio Mane called them back. They continued the match and then lost, Senegal then won the match, through that late goal. So I think the people who find them in the right are those who stick to the rules and say, well, the rules state that you. But there's a second set of rules that also say that the referee's decision is final, and the referee made the decision to continue the match. So whose rules do you go by? And this is the big issue here, and this is what is going to be adjudicated at the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
I mean, Nqobile, the other sort of character in this whole thing, of course, is the Confederation of African Football. I think a huge amount of effort has been put into building up the credibility of the African game at club level, at international level. Some would say that CAF's reputation was at risk if they didn't make this decision, and others might say the exact opposite. I mean, it is a bit of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But in terms of the larger, and particularly wearing your hat as somebody who understands the business of sport, does CAF come out of this stronger, weaker, neutral?
I think CAF comes out of this weaker because there were two decisions made at CAF. A lot of people seem to see the last decision that was made and see that as the only decision.
Okay.
Initially, Morocco appealed the initial result, and CAF CAF dismissed the appeal. Then Morocco then went to the appeals board of CAF. So you can go to the disciplinary committee of CAF and appeal. Then they were dismissed there. But then they went to the appeals board of CAF, and then the appeals board said, we disagree with the initial decision that was made. So there were two decisions. And the thinking out there is that, well, if CAF can't make up their mind around such a big issue, because you don't want an AFCON winner to be decided in a court in Switzerland, bad picture of CAF as an organization in terms of them not being able to come to a certain position and stick to it. The problem is that the disciplinary board is an independent board. The appeals board is an independent body. And that appeals process cannot be influenced by CAF, because then what's the point of going to appeal? So, yeah, I think CAF will come out to the general public weaker. But if you look at strictly the laws of the game and the application of the laws, and I think this is a fair way to go about it. It just doesn't look good from a branding point of view, because, again, you get the Western media saying that African football is a farce and a joke, and it's hard to argue against it, because now the winner of the tournament gets decided by a Swiss court.
Is this hopelessly naive, Nqobile? But is there somebody with vision and a marketing brain and a desire to make a whole lot of money and saying, this thing was a mess, it shouldn't have happened, but we've got two absolutely giant names in African football, let's have a replay? I mean, I can see it. And you would have it on a neutral ground. You could possibly have it in Paris, for example. Both of the countries have rich connections to France, and lots of people of Moroccan and Senegalese heritage. I mean, it would be absolutely packed. Out of the question?
Yeah, I think it's completely untenable, because even both clubs, both countries just wouldn't have it. Already as it is, both countries are at loggerheads.
Yes.
Morocco, as you may know, has already refused to host the women's AFCON, which they were supposed to host soon after. I mean, they were supposed to kick off, I think, yesterday or the day before. So already there's big arguments on both sides. There's politicians and presidents on both sides. I don't think they even want to face each other right now. So I think that's already a bit of a challenge. But I think, there's another angle here which we're forgetting, and this is the angle of FIFA and the influence and the general organization.
Right.
Football has a big problem with regards to political influence, seeming political influence. I think not only are we having an issue with CAF, we're having an issue with FIFA in general in terms of what are you doing? What types of decisions are you making?
Yes.
You're just making decisions that make your organization look as though you're not doing things for the good of the game. And I think overall football has to look at itself and say, okay, are we doing things in the best interest of football? And can we remove these And I'm not saying that the politicians involved at CAF are doing this.
Yes.
But it just doesn't look good in terms of the brand image point of view. And brands associated with FIFA, with CAF right now are asking themselves, do we continue, investing this money that we're investing?
Thank you so much, Nqobile Ndlovu, founder, Cash and Sport Research and Advisory. I still like my idea of a replay. Could it work? Let me know what you think.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
Sergeant Faninkosi says he was given information by an informant of a house where people were being kept against their will. Nkosi says when he visited the house, he didn't know it belonged to a fellow police officer. However, evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson says there are holes in Nkosi's story.
There are several people who were not happy with what this officer of the SAPS was doing in his investigation. Those investigations extended to Mr. Matlala, Mr. Molefe, and other people alleged to be involved in criminal activities with Mr. Matlala and Mr. Molefe. And those people would not like what that investigating officer was doing.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
On the go and your stomach suddenly not keeping up. That burn, bloating or reflux could be symptoms of an ulcer, and stress can make it feel even worse. Ulcernic offers triple action relief by coating your stomach lining with a protective layer, and it works for up to 6 hours. No prescription needed. Choose between suspension, tablets or effervescent tablets. Keep an eye on the shelf for Ulcernic's new packaging. A fresh new look outside, same trusted relief on the inside. Visit the Ulcernic Facebook page for more.
Let's hear from Dr. Armand, owner of Monument Dental, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
It was one call and I was covered immediately. We are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
This is EWN.
Mkhwanazi justifies not telling Parliament about a meeting with Matlala, and the UK races to contain an outbreak of meningitis. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has justified not informing Parliament of his meeting with alleged crime kingpin Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. Mkhwanazi says the meeting at an apartment in Umhlanga, Durban last year was part of an investigation into Gauteng criminal networks. Mkhwanazi is back before Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is investigating allegations of police corruption. Mkhwanazi says the meeting was also attended by former KZN Hawks head Major General Lesija Sinona. Babalondenze has more.
During his testimony in October last year, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi neglected to tell the committee that he met with Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. But Matlala mentioned the meeting during his testimony at the end of last year at the Hoshe Mambura Correctional Facility. Matlala told the committee that the meeting was to try to resolve challenges he was experiencing with his police contract. Mkhwanazi was asked about the meeting today, which he confirmed took place at Matlala's request.
Kat Matlala, we did not see it as a need to present it because it was a meeting that was helping the investigation to uncover some truth about that which the team in Gauteng was investigating.
He says Matlala was scared during the meeting.
He was afraid of the people that he was talking about, and he made it clear that what he's sharing with me in a straight language you'll refer to as snitching.
Mkhwanazi told the committee that during the meeting Matlala was giving out information that could have compromised him and his family's safety, and that's why he did not mention it himself. Baba Londenza, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Meanwhile, the attempted murder case against Vusimuzi Kat Matlala took an unexpected turn today. Matlala's lawyers told the Johannesburg High Court that her client wants his trial to be separated from his co-accused because there is no case against him. Matlala and 4 others, including his wife, are facing 25 charges, including 11 of attempted murder. Some of the charges are linked to the attempted murder of Matlala's socialite ex-girlfriend Tebogo Tobejane. Advocate Annelie van der says the evidence against Matlala is flawed.
My client believes it's in the interest of justice that we cut through the chase. We run this case for the 2 witnesses that he believes are pertinent in this matter. Make very clear, because we believe it's inadmissible evidence. The opinion of some police officers is, in my opinion, it was a hit that was organized. It's impermissible in any case and inadmissible. So that is what my instructions are at this.
President Cyril Ramaphosa's legal team maintains there is no valid basis for the challenge against Andy Mothibi's appointment as the head of the NPA. The Pretoria High Court heard arguments from law firm Biqulu and Partners Incorporated today, which believes Mothibi's appointment was fundamentally flawed. The firm argues that Mothibi should have undergone a public interview process conducted by the advisory panel established by the President. The panel concluded that none of the 6 interviewed candidates were suitable, prompting the President to appoint Mothibi directly. While the law firm views this as irregular, the Presidency's legal representative, Advocate Dikeledi Chabedi, disagrees.
The application must be dismissed with cause of true cancer. One can see, because this application was unnecessary, my lord. There's no reason why we should be here today.
Government has appointed an administrator to oversee daily operations of the Ingonyama Trust Board. The decision follows the recent resignation of 2 members from the board, leaving it with only 4, below what is a required quorum. The board, chaired by Zulu monarch Mrs. Zulu Gazwelithini, is in charge of almost 3 million hectares of land, held in that province. It generates millions of rands through leases. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
For years now, the controversial Ingonyama Trust Board has been marred with allegations of maladministration. Since his ascension to the Zulu throne, King Mrs. Zulu Gazwelithini made changes in its chairmanship, citing concerns about traditional leaders playing very little to no role in the board. Land Reform and Rural Development Minister Mzwanele Nyonso says, with the recent exit of board members, operations are unsuitable. The minister says while government has appointed an administrator to run daily affairs of the board, the remaining members will be attended to with due process. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
And in the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer is urging young people who visited a nightclub at the centre of a deadly meningitis outbreak to come forward. The call comes after the number of cases rose in the past 24 hours from 15 to 20. 2 young people have died as a result. The deceased are a 21-year-old university student and an 18-year-old. Health experts are now working to identify the close contacts of those who have contracted the life-threatening condition. Gold is trading at $4,874.15 an ounce. The rand is at 16.84 to the dollar, 22.43 to the pound, 19.38 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $107.87 a barrel.
In Rivonia, traffic sluggish heading towards the N1 on Rivonia Road between 12th Avenue and Van der Bijl. Bryanston traffic remains heavily backed up on Winnie Mandela Drive between Main and Witkoppen, and in 4 ways. Bumper traffic on Witkoppen Road between Douglas Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive.
In your sport, Senegal have been stripped of their 2025 AFCON title. Liverpool face a 1-0 deficit at Anfield tonight, and Live Golf South Africa tees off tomorrow at Steyn City.
A partly cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, with isolated afternoon showers and thundershowers expected. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 14 degrees, peaking at 25. Pretoria 16 and 28, and Vereeniging 14 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has justified not informing Parliament of his meeting with alleged crime kingpin Vusimuzi Matlala.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, great to have you with us for the last hour of the show. It's 9 minutes past 5. Coming up over the next half an hour, we're going to be going down to Parliament, although the session is still busy, with the KZN Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, back in front of the members of Parliament, those who sit on the ad hoc commission, looking into the various issues prompted by his press conference last July. And it's been very, very interesting indeed. He certainly has come out with a lot of new material. He's also been questioned on things raised by other witnesses, most notably former Minister of Police Bheki Cele, saying that the general had attended a meeting that Kat Matlala was also present at. Actually, was that former Minister Bheki Cele, or was that another witness? Anyway, we'll get clarity on that. I think the fact of the meeting is the crucial issue under discussion. He was questioned, as you heard a moment ago there, from Mbali Dlamini about why he didn't mention it the first time he came before the House. But there's plenty more besides. Babalo Ndenze will join us for a summary shortly. And then to an issue that I think may affect you, certainly if not directly, then certainly indirectly. Government is concerned about the Airbnb space. There are other platforms, by the way, where people can make rentals on a similar basis, but they are arguing there should be a much tighter regulation of that space. And we'll talk to Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille, about that. What is the thinking behind that? On the one hand, you have a burgeoning and thriving small business sector that is creating a lot of jobs. On the other hand, particularly in cities like Cape Town, the concerns are that if so much rental of the apartment, for example, inventory and the housing inventory in general, is committed to short-term rentals and commerce, where are people who want to live in Cape Town supposed to live? A lot of issues to unravel. Maybe you've got a view on that already. One thing many of you do have a view on is the decision by the Confederation of African Football to strip Senegal of the title they won at the CAF Championships on the 18th of January this year. Let's take a listen to some of your thoughts.
Good day, Dr. John. Great show as per usual. Yeah, another thing I'm curious about as well as the Senegal-Morocco saga. What about the prize monies? Are they expecting the Senegal Football Association to pay back that entire prize? Or what's happening there? I'm very curious about that.
Good afternoon, John. I think I get it. If we are going with the letter of the law, then I guess Morocco are the champions. But I don't know. I don't think I would want Bafana to win AFCON that way. I wouldn't want to be champions just because someone else walked off the page. I mean, the score was 0-0. They walked off the page, and you want to consider that a victory, and you'd go to the length of taking it to court. I mean, it's a sporting contest. It's supposed to be settled on the pitch. I would go with what happened on the pitch. I mean, yes, they walked off, but then they came back and it was settled on the football pitch. And that's how tournaments are supposed to be decided, not in a court.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in many ways. I still stick to my idea. They should have a replay. It'll be fantastic. It would be a money spinner. It would be money that they could not have dreamed would be possible when the final whistle was blown on the tournament. And I just want to remind people, some of you will know about this, 27 years ago. I think it's almost on this day because it happened in February. Arsenal played Sheffield United. You know the rule, if the other team kicks the ball out so that your player can be treated, you're supposed to give them the ball back. And they didn't. And they played on and they scored a goal and won the game. And at the end of it, the manager at the time, Arsene Wenger, said, that was wrong. We'll offer you a replay. And they had a replay. So, yeah, it can be done. It has been done. Come on, CAF, stretch your minds. Commerce, excitement, put the African game right in the spotlight. And I've already got a venue, as I suggested. Let's play it in Paris. 14 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
Right, let's get the very latest from the roads. This EWN Traffic is brought to you by South African Airways. See just how far you can go with them. Book at flysaa.com and do it now. Karabo Charlie has the very latest details. Sandton was a problem. Invariably, problems shift. Now it's in Rivonia, which is also in Sandton, but you know what I mean.
True that. So, John, at this stage, wet, slippery roads are throughout 702 land, so please take it easy out there. Maintain a safe following distance and keep your headlights on. Yes, Rivonia, traffic sluggish on Rivonia Road between 12th Avenue and Van der Bijl. Poles off. Also slow-moving traffic on Witkoppen Road between Main and Rivonia Road. Bryanston four-ways. Traffic heavily backed up. This is leaving Bryanston heading into four-ways on Winnie Mandela Drive between Main and Broad Acres Drive. Four-ways still bumper-to-bumper traffic on Witkoppen Road between Douglas and Winnie Mandela Drive. Midrand accident scene N1 southbound. This is before Allendale Road, causing huge delays still in the Midrand area. Expect about a 20-minute delay on Old Pretoria Road between Brakfontein Road and New Road. Tembisa heading towards Irene. Traffic pressure R21 northbound approaching Olifantsfontein Road. And if you're driving out of Sandton, expect about a 20-minute delay on Greyston Drive between Rivonia Road and the M1. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Driving the conversation on 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Powered by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702 Drive. Let's go down to Parliament, specifically to the ad hoc commission looking into corruption, criminality and political interference in the criminal justice system. We all know why the commission is sitting. We all know why we talk about this virtually every day. That's because the man appearing before the commission, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, back in July 2025, held a press conference and said all kinds of things that made this Parliamentary Commission and the Madlanga Commission equivalent in Pretoria completely unavoidable. So his second appearance, Babalo Ndenze, has been keeping a close eye. Babalo, very good afternoon to you. Before we get into some of the specifics, I wanted to ask you this. The nature and quality of the engagement with the MPs, do you get a sense that most of them are supportive of, appreciative of the stand that General Mkhwanazi took, or is he coming in for his share of tough questions as well? What's the mood been like?
Yes, indeed, John. It looks like they're quite happy with his second appearance. We know he was the first witness on the 7th of October last year, but, the speakers, the members of Parliament who've started asking questions now after the evidence leaders, have been quite complimentary. Woniso Nomvalo from the MK party, who just, who's actually asking questions now, was quite complimentary at the beginning of his question, saying that had Mkhwanazi not done his press conference last year out of desperation, we would never, have found ourselves where we are at the moment, where we know all of this information from all this evidence. But there have been questions from, the likes of Ngola from the ANC, who was basically doing the opposite to what Mandela Novalo did. He was just questioning Mkhwanazi about some, troubling evidence that was presented last week by a KZN-based police official who claims that he was tortured and stripped naked by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. So members are split. Some are complimenting him, for doing what he did, and they are appreciating his evidence today. But some are putting questions to him about some, troubling allegations against him, which include, allegations of corruption, getting payments, as well as allegations of torture and, abducting certain people who have presented to the committee. But this specific allegation came from a public submission. So he is being asked about some allegations that he's facing. So a meeting with Kat Matlala and failing to tell the committee last year in October that he met with Kat Matlala. The committee only found out when Kat Matlala gave his evidence at the Hoshi Mambula Correctional Facility that he actually met with Mkhwanazi. But Mkhwanazi has confirmed that today that he did meet with Kat Matlala, but it was not a meeting where there was exchanges of money and he was doing him any favors. It was really to investigate a matter involving Gauteng, involved cases that are based in Gauteng. So far, John, I think, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has been quite well received by the committee.
In terms then of the one thing you've just referred to, Babalo, and you have covered it in the various bulletins we've heard in the course of the 702 day, but the question asked of him, because just remind me, if you can, who actually testified to organizing a meeting. I think it was one of the senior KZN police officers who had put together a meeting with Kat Matlala and General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, and he was asked as to why he didn't see fit to mention it in front of the committee. How did he do in response to that question? Because it's a rather pertinent issue, I would have thought.
Yes, it was, the former KZN Hawks head, let's say Jasenona,
yes,
we all know testified at the Madlanga Commission already, and he was part of this meeting. They were either, at a upmarket apartment in Umhlanga in Durban where they met, and he alleges, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi alleges that Senona, claimed during his evidence at Madlanga that he didn't know what the meeting was about. But Mkhwanazi is dismissing this because he says the room was quite small. There is no way that he could not have heard what he was discussing with Kat Matlala. So, he is disputing some of the submissions that have been made about the specific KZN meeting. And he's adamant that, this meeting had nothing to do with anything else but these investigations, even, saying that Kat Matlala himself feared for his life when he was giving him this information in this apartment, saying that, he was implicating some people in the underworld or from the Big Five, and saying that, he would be considered, to quote him directly, John, he would be considered a snitch. So there were issues around Kat Matlala's safety, and this is the reason why Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi did not mention this to the committee initially, and he says he'd rather that Kat Matlala mentions it himself, which is why he's happy today to mention the meeting, because Matlala has already revealed this information to the committee.
Thank you so much, Babalo Ndenze. And as I said, the session is still continuing. Regular updates in the news bulletins right here on 702. It's 21 minutes past 5.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
Well, I don't know about you, but when many people travel, they look for an Airbnb. It's well priced. Some people don't necessarily have enough money to stay for long spells in a hotel, and they like kind of being in a version of a home where they can look after themselves, cook for themselves, and not feel they've always got to go out and buy food. But it's a complex area. And it really is a complex area because it spans so many areas of our life. On the one hand, it is a small business sector and a thriving one at that. It's a crucial element if we're to fit in with global trends of South Africa's tourism offering. But that's not the only part to it, because an apartment which is used for short-term rentals on that basis could also be an apartment where somebody who wants to live close to the place where they work or close to job opportunities could get a longer-term rental and make that place their home, even if they don't own it. Government, therefore, is engaged in having a look at how Airbnbs are currently regulated, and I'm sure there are other platforms. Airbnb has become the kind of generic term for that. And to talk about those regulations and what government is trying to achieve, we're joined now by Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille. Minister, welcome and thanks very much for your time. I would have thought that you've been confronted already with the fact that you're trying to solve a number of different problems with one set of regulations. The fact of the housing shortage in a place like Cape Town, for example, is not in itself going to be solved by stricter regulation of Airbnb. How are you doing that? Because, as I say, I think you're trying to deal with more than one sector and not just tourism.
I do agree. You summed it up well, John. The growth of the short-term rentals, whether through digital platforms or traditional channels, has created new opportunities for the host and for guests and for travelers. But at the same time, with the growth, some concerns have been raised by municipalities and by residents, and they highlighted the need for a clear and fair, responsible practice across the sector. So we are not at the regulating stage yet. We had responded to the need to, in terms of Chapter 2 of the Tourism Act, the minister is empowered to issue a code of good practice to guide conduct within the tourism sector. That is where we are now.
Yes.
And looking at the responsibility of the host and of the guest, we say, for instance, the host must be responsible to inform the guest about how they must behave. You know, they must inform them about body corporate rules in a block of flats and the behavior. And the same also inform the guest about existing laws, you know, like health and safety, the cleanliness and all of that. And that has been missing. So in the interim, we consulted with the short-term rentals and Airbnb and other stakeholders, and we said, look, for the interim, we can do this code.
Yes.
This is an interim measure while we address the long-term regulations. Currently, I don't have the power to regulate the sector.
Right.
Because the Act is about 15 years old already. So what we are doing now as the Department of Tourism, we are reviewing the Tourism Act, because Cabinet in 2024 approved a new white paper and new policies on the development and promotion of tourism. Now, this review focus now on various aspects in the tourism sector, including the gaps in short-term rentals. Now, this process is going to take some time, John,
Yes.
because we have to introduce a bill to Parliament, we have to do public participation and all of that. And we said in the interim, and the sector agreed, that there is an urgent need for guidance on how the sector must behave in terms of existing laws.
So, Minister, if I could just jump in then and say this.
Yes.
I mean, I would have thought reaching consensus, and obviously that in itself will take time, on the kind of behavioral aspects of this. It's a clearly framed negotiation in which you could talk about win-win. But is it fair to say that where the rubber's really going to hit the road and where it's going to get difficult is, for example, if cities would start saying, well, in fact, you can't do short-term rentals. Minimum rental periods have to be a certain length so we can start giving our citizens places where they can live. I mean, that's going to be the really hard part, isn't it?
Definitely, John. But, you know, we have to find the balance between the growth of the sector and the services that they provide, because some aspects of the short-term rentals intersect with municipal responsibilities under the Constitution. Municipalities are responsible for planning, for land use, and for zoning. And we have looked also at some of the international examples. You know, we took two cities, Paris and London, and they, for instance, come up with regulations that say you can only use your property for 90 days in any given year for the purpose of short-term rentals. And then they came with sanctions and fines and all of that. So it's a national problem for us in the country, especially in the cities. And part of the solution from the municipalities also, John, is that on top of what we have inherited, the apartheid spatial planning, the cities have not really integrated and used government-owned land to build affordable housing within the cities. A lot of gentrification has also taken place. People that have lived close by the cities have been displaced. If you look at Boerkaap in Cape Town, for instance. So it's having to work together with the mayors, with the cities, so that we find that right balance and not also over-regulate the sector, but find a way whereby people can still derive an income from their properties through Airbnb or short-term rentals. But it must be done, and it must be guided, and it must be regulated so that not more people are displaced from the cities because it's not affordable to rent anything in the cities nowadays.
Thank you very much. We'll have to leave it there with Patricia de Lille, Minister of Tourism. Maybe you've got a view on this. I mean, maybe you have a particular dog in this fight. Many people have put their savings, their pension money into a property that they're looking to derive short-term rental income from. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you on that. If there is to be regulation, what should be regulated? 072 702 1702, 29 minutes past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a very good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, John. Very tough on the JSE today. So gold is down. I mean, it's down to $4,800 levels, John. Really astonishing. Oil prices are up nearly $110, and that's having the predictable impact you would expect on the JSE. So the all share ending the day down 3%. I mean, do you remember 127,000 points? It's now 113,710. I mean, the difference is staggering. Financials down 1.12, industrials down 3. Resources down 5.5, and to be expected, obviously, when this is happening. Sibanye bearing the brunt of it, down 8.57. Goldfields down 7.9. Trueworth's also down 7.5%. Strangely, the only consumer stock going down as big as that, as much as that. And then Prosus down 7.3. They had results out in Hong Kong. They've been described by one analyst to me as underwhelming. Thungela up 5.59, obviously in coal. PHP up 3. Reunert up 2.17. And Grindrod, Fortress B, Optasia and HCI all up by well over 1%. So interesting to see which sectors are growing. Just to try and unpack this gold price, it seems that, bear in mind, the dollar's been getting stronger through the war in the Middle East. That makes it more expensive for, say, a South African central bank to buy more gold. People also perhaps switching to oil because they want to bolster those reserves. So those might be some explanations for why gold hasn't gone up. Here, inflation coming down for the month of February to 3%, but doesn't really help us because we know fuel prices are going to go up. That's going to push up inflation. In the meantime, though, braai price inflation beginning to finally drop. Beef prices down by 1% month on month to the month of February after the foot and mouth outbreak. And sticking to that, the chicken producer Astral, they expect their earnings per share to jump over 300% for the 6 months to the end of March, seeing strong demand for chicken. I should also mention Brandon Craig, going to be the new CEO at the mining company BHP. In the US, market's still down. There was higher than expected producer price inflation numbers suggesting that there will not be an interest rate cut. The Dow Jones down 0.76, the Nasdaq down 0.46, the S&P 500 down nearly 0.5% on the day. The gold price, $4,877.05 an ounce. Platinum, $2,059.80. Brent crude, $108.49. The rand taking the brunt in this too, 16.79 to the dollar, 19.34 to the euro, 22.37 to the British pound. On the Money Show tonight, results from IOCO. We'll be talking as well about inflation and the number of credit defaults we're seeing in our economy. And then we'll be speaking to Natalie Sedaris. John, she is the person who's created a restaurant that at the very least you'd have walked past. She's the CEO at Tasha's. We'll speak to her tonight on The Money Show. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen, making me hungry. Almost dinner time, but it is time for the news. Here's Mbali Dlamini.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Top cop Fani Nkosi has once again faced a grilling at the Madlanga Commission for sharing confidential police information with civilians, this time with an unnamed taxi boss. WhatsApp chats before the commission show Nkosi frequently shared information with a man he referred to only as Mampane Taximan. Nkosi says he doesn't know Mampane's name, but described him as a taxi owner who was close to the late taxi boss John Mswazi Msibi. Nkosi regularly shared police reports with Mampane, including insider details relating to the corruption investigation against the head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Khumalo.
I don't want to defend something that is undefendable, but by the time that this thing was sent to Mr. Mampane, it was already in public, but I understand, I take it was wrong.
Nkosi was also pressed on why he shared a lot of information with Mampane relating to the head of crime intelligence.
I don't think that Mr. Mampane had any bad intentions, and I also don't think that Mr. Mampane knows Mr. Khumalo that he would wish something bad had happened to him. I was only circulating this on the basis that people in his industry are interested in the police things.
Retired top cop Jeremy Vieri says gangs will continue to flourish if the numbers gang culture is not addressed. Vieri joined panelists at a seminar hosted by the University of the Western Cape today aimed at confronting gangsterism and social dysfunction in the province. The event brought together civil society leaders, clerics, government, police, academics as well as affected communities. Carlo Peterson reports.
Former top cop and gang expert Jeremy Vieri says the numbers gang subculture keeps street gangs in operation in the Western Cape and other parts of the country. Vieri says the subculture has been around for 200 years and cannot be addressed by policing alone.
But it makes our gangs as organized as they are today. It gives them the kind of almost spiritual fervor with which they conduct things.
The former head of detectives in the Western Cape says the numbers gang creates a reality for gangsters where prison is not a deterrent.
So when you have a boy of 15 telling you he wants to grow up to be a 28 general, then you realize education has failed, churches have failed, every form of moral education has failed.
Vieri says the subculture creates a binding network of criminality across the country, both inside prisons and within communities. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News at UWC.
And a 16-year-old girl is fighting for her life in intensive care a week after she was severely injured in a crash involving her scholar transport in Ekurhuleni. The grade 10 learner was injured when a bakkie collided with a taxi transporting children to school. Jabuli Limbata has more.
The child's parents say with the injuries their daughter has suffered, they are concerned about whether she will recover to full health and be fit enough to play basketball professionally like before.
Fracture to the spine, the neck, the skull, swelling in the brain.
Bleeding to the brain.
Yeah, swelling and bleeding to the brain, broken ribs. So those were the and the wrist.
Her parents say while some of her top achievements include representing South Africa for youth games, national tournaments, and being signed to the Soweto Panthers in the Basketball National League as the youngest player, she wants to go international.
Wherever she was, they reached the maximum for the particular league. So most of the teams that she's played for Gauteng, they won twice gold with the ladies in Durban.
No one has been arrested for the crash, but police have confirmed that a case of reckless and negligent driving has been opened. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
A partly cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers expected. Lows of between 14 and 16 degrees and highs of between 25 and 28.
In Bryanston Fourways area, traffic remains heavily backed up on Winnie Mandela Drive between Main and Broad Acres Drive. Still in Fourways, expect about a 30-minute delay on Witkoppen Road between Douglas Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive. And in Rivonia, traffic remains sluggish on Rivonia Road. This is between 12th Avenue and Van der Bijl.
A top story in EWN, top cop Fanny Nkosi has once again faced a grilling at the Madlanga Commission for sharing confidential police information with civilians, this time with an unnamed taxi boss.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
The automotive sector, I've seen the Chinese brands that have really become quite popular in South Africa. I think the last I checked, multiple manufacturers were exceeding about 1,000 unit sales per month. Have the German companies felt the brunt? Have they been impacted in any way from what you've observed?
Yeah, no, everybody's feeling the pressure. Of course, as a German ambassador, I still love our German brands. I think they are really still top of the range. But truth be told, I mean, the Chinese cars are very good. The thing is, selling cars is one thing. The other thing is producing cars, manufacturing. So how many Chinese cars are manufactured in South Africa? Yeah. None. Yeah. How many German cars are manufactured in South Africa? Quite a significant number.
Andreas Peschke.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
On the 23rd of March, join Freedom Park and the National Heritage Council as we commemorate the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, a defining moment in Southern Africa's journey to freedom. Be part of a powerful day of reflection on resistance and liberation heritage. It will feature a public lecture, wreath-laying ceremony, and messages of solidarity from African and international partners. Let's honor the courage, unity, and sacrifice that shaped our democracy. Freedom Park, Pretoria, 23 March 2026. Be there. Be part of the legacy.
This is what home internet should feel like. Get the Vodacom 5G home router with 600 gigs and 30 megabits per second download speed for just $529 per month over 36 months. And that's not all. You'll also get a Xiaomi TV box 3rd gen with $1,399. Stream in 4K at no extra cost. Your home fully connected, fully entertained. Exclusive to Vodacom World. Visit us today and get connected. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
Every day I'm hustling. It's our reality as business owners. And it's good to know that there's someone out there who takes care of the business that makes the business. Gotta love My Way Business Insurance. Saving big on premiums with 24/7 emergency services, plus My Business Assist with marketing, legal, and labor advice services.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Reliable water services depend on a sustainable system. When residents pay for municipal services, it enables Johannesburg Water to maintain infrastructure, repair leaks, upgrade networks, and continue delivering essential water and sanitation services to the city. Revenue collected from services is reinvested into operating and strengthening the water system for everyone. By paying for services, residents play an important role in supporting the sustainability of Johannesburg's water supply. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a water and sanitation utility that cares.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good afternoon, John, and the 702 team over there. Hope everyone's doing good. Listen, man, I just want to comment on the message by the caller saying that he feels his comments might be unfair when he says that people might benefit from this tender that's being put out for the transportation of this art. There's nothing unfair about that at all. Nothing, because we have so much history and precedent to go off of when it comes to tenders and this tender system. So I think we're well within our rights to scrutinize this. We're well within our rights to ask questions as citizens. There's nothing unfair about asking those questions or thinking that at all. We've seen through the KDAT deployment and everything that we've witnessed that tenders are used to chow. So we are well within our rights to ask who's going to chow from this tender. This is Sia, Rodiport.
Hello, John. This is Eugene from Randburg. I'm sure I'm blocked because you never play any of my messages. I just wanted to ask you if there's any news on what Gayton McKenzie said on Sunday night's news, that he was going to make an announcement about Jocelyn Smith today in Parliament, and he was going to confront the acting police commissioner, but I haven't seen anything on the news feeds or heard anything. Are you aware of anything happening? Thank you.
John, first of all, I think what the Senegalese players did was very wrong. They didn't sit well with me when they were doing it. I mean, walking off the pitch for about 15 minutes until their captain intervened and, begged them to come and play. Where have you seen that? There were supposed to be consequences. You can't blame Morocco. They did the right thing. They were setting a very bad precedent, as if they are ordained to have won in the final. They are right channels if they disagreeing with the penalty, not walking off. So kudos to Morocco, and I congratulate them. They deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a fantastic debate. I still want to settle it on the field. Replay. No one's listening. Okay. It's a good idea, man. And if they do it, I'm going to claim some kind of compensation for it being my idea. Just this one, we were talking about music because this is Teach Music Week, an international celebration of those people who teach younger people to get a love for music, and of course those young people who take up instruments themselves. Melanie sends us a great story that I would like to share with you. My husband is a multi-musician. Our youngest started playing around on the drums at the age of 3, and we embraced it. He started playing on feel and on his ears, and at the age of 9, he started with drum lessons, finished his grade 8 drumming degree in matric. He sang in the school choir since primary school. Today, he is a songwriter. He sings, he plays guitar, self-taught, drums, and concertina. He also understands the music language. And Melanie concludes, music has done so much for his ADHD with regard to discipline and concentration. Wonderful story. Let's have yours. 072 702 1702. 16 minutes to 6.
EWN Sport.
Let's catch up with the very latest.
A very good evening. I'm Alex White. We start with big drama in AFCON 2 months after the final. Senegal have been stripped of their title, with CAF awarding the trophy to Morocco after ruling that Senegal forfeited the match by walking off the pitch. Senegal have condemned the decision and confirmed their plans to appeal. While in the Champions League, Barcelona host Newcastle with the tie finally balanced after a 1-1 draw in the first leg. Tottenham face a mountain to climb against Atletico Madrid, trailing 5-2 on aggregate. Despite that, Spurs boss Tudor doesn't think it's impossible.
Everything to play again, still to play. Believe that we can do it. That's the important thing from the start.
Bayern Munich look all but through after hammering Atalanta 6-1 away, while Liverpool must overturn a 1-0 deficit at Anfield against Galatasaray. Here's manager Arne Slot on why he's positive about tonight.
Now, what of course makes it difficult is we've played them already twice and we lost twice against them. The good thing is that now for the first time we play at home.
Yesterday, Real Madrid knocked out Man City and Arsenal eased past Leverkusen to reach the quarter-finals. Arsenal's Easy scored his first Champions League goal.
Yeah, it's a special goal. For sure, I'm going to remember it for a long time. Hopefully, that's the first of many in the Champions League for me.
Meanwhile, back home in the Betway Premiership, Sundowns beat Marumo Gallants 3-1. Tonight, Arrows host Stellenbosch. Then late yesterday, the Blitzboks touched down on South African soil as Sevens Series champions. They still have the World Championship to play for across 3 tournaments, but understandably, Captain Impie Visser is proud of his team.
Even though I think we left some opportunities out there, we weren't as clinical in the semis and in the final with attacking opportunity. But I mean, our defense was amazing, and just to be able to finish off with a victory and in a series win, honestly, you couldn't have written it any better.
Finally, a reminder that Stain City welcomes some of the world's top golfers for Live Golf South Africa from tomorrow. All South African sides, Southern Guards GC, are currently 6th on the log. I'll have more sports for you in an hour. For Eyewitness News Sports, I am Alex White.
EWN Traffic.
At 14 to 6, EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS OUT to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. 4 ways, delays. The 2 words rhyme. Not good news though, Karabo Charlie.
Yeah, if you're leaving Bryanston heading into 4 ways, traffic remains heavily backed up on Winnie Mandela Drive between Main and Broad Acres. 4 ways, you can also expect about a 30-minute delay. This is on Witkoppen Road between Douglas Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive, while in Rivonia, traffic remains sluggish on Rivonia Road between 12th Avenue and Van der Bijl. Sandton, expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on Catherine Street between Sandton Drive and Grayston. Still in Sandton, heading towards Midrand, bumper-to-bumper traffic M1 northbound from Ethel Oaklands all the way to the Patroon Interchange. Pulls off, traffic is sluggish on Witkoppen Road between Main and Rivonia Road. Midrand, there's that accident scene N1 South before Allendale causing heavy delays. There's also slow-moving traffic still in the Midrand area. Glen Austin, 20-minute delay. Old Pretoria Road between Brakfontein Road and New Road. Tembisa heading towards Irene. There's traffic pressure. R21 northbound approaching Olifantsfontein Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You know that feeling when someone lets you cut in during peak traffic? That's how good it feels to see the Outsurance pointsmen on your route. Everyone feels the difference when the Outsurance pointsmen are on the roads. They've been easing the traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using hashtag #PointsmenLove. Licensed insurer and FSP.
Stay with 702 Afternoon Drive with John Perlman. Brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
You know, sometimes we play music for ourselves and sometimes we play music for other people. It might be a social occasion. It might be people who are riding in your vehicle who haven't normally traveled with you. And then, of course, there's the flip side. You've got to listen to other people's music because we don't all get to be DJ in every single circumstance. Jono raised a really interesting idea earlier and said, what is it that would make people say, you have good taste in music? Now, I'm asking you that question. What is the song, and it could be a particular artist, it might be a genre of music, but still I want you to pick a particular song. What is that thing that somebody plays that would make you say, they've got good taste in music? So, Rifue, you find yourself in a whole lot of social circumstances. Sometimes you were telling us the other day you're in an Uber. I don't know what you think of Uber-level DJing at the present in 2026. But can you think of a song and an artist that if you heard someone play it, you'd say, let me stick around. They know their music.
So the particular song and artist, so it's Sade, it's called Smooth Operator.
Okay.
And this is
Classics.
a song, yes, the classics. This is a song older than me. I believe it was released in 1984. Quick story. Roommates in varsity was the one that introduced me to Sade. She used to play it in the background studying. And one day I was like, can you turn it up?
Yes.
And I said to her, sure, I've got a newfound respect for you. This is nice. I mean, I love how beautiful Sade's voice is. You can't help but want to listen to her.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because there's a very nice little moment of cred if you're the person who's played something that other people say, thanks for playing it because I know it, or wow, this is cool, what is it?
Absolutely.
Thanks for introducing it to me. So there's a DJ in all of us. But for you, the artist, and give us a song to illustrate it that says to you, that person has good taste, or if you're trying to impress people with your taste, what's your go-to artist and song? Here's Sade. Good taste in music. That for Rifue Litsua would be signaled if you put on that wonderful, wonderful song from Sade from 1984. Your song that signals good taste, send it to us, please, on 072 702 1702. It's 8 minutes to 6.
Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
What is normal retirement before we talk about what early retirement is?
There is no statutory retirement age in South Africa. Normally, if you're employed, your retirement age is governed by your employment contract. The South African government does offer a state old age pension, which is payable when you reach age 65. But that's not retirement age. You can retire at any time that you want to. So if you're older than 55, if you take your pension in the form of a retirement benefit, you can then get the favorable tax treatment that is available in terms of our tax structure.
Natasha Huget-Henshy, who is consulting actuary at NMG Benefits.
702 Afternoons
with Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Smart Steve from Momentum, hello.
Smart Steve, my daughter just turned 18, right? And now she's got a license and a boyfriend.
You're worried about her safety. With Momentum Safety Alert, she can access help 24/7.
Is that the emergency response version of Curry in a hurry?
For sure. She can get help at the touch of a button for free.
Free? For all that and all?
Visit momentum.co.za or call 0860 006 784. Momentum Insure, keeping you safe on your journey to success. Momentum Insure is an authorized non-life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Sorry I'm late, Sevi. Had to fetch my lucky putter. No worries, let's go. We're teeing off in an hour. Great. We're taking your car. Can't. It's already taken. What do you mean taken? It was right here when I left a few minutes ago. I sold it to WeBuy Cars and made a whole lot of green. Birdie told me that's the best way to sell your car. Not only the best way, it's the fair way. Kom ons vat die pad.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for a fast sale, geared for you.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
702 Drive with John Perlman was proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John and team. If somebody's playing anything from Dave Matthews Band, I know that they've got good taste in music. You can maybe play Crash Into Me, just as an example. This is Chris from Radiohead.
You got your ball, you got your chain tied to me, tie me up again. Who's got the claws in you, my friend? Into your heart beat again. Sweet like candy to my soul. Sweet you are, sweet you roll. Lost for you.
Joburg boy, Dave Matthews and the Dave Matthews Band, Crash Into Me, song that came out exactly almost 30 years ago. Whenever I look at when these songs come out, I always think they're much more recent. But I guess that says a lot more about me than the song itself. Let's hear a few more of your voice notes, songs that for you signal great taste.
John, hi, David in Boxburg here. I must say thank you to 702 because one day I was playing Dochi's Anxiety and in the car, and my boy looked at me and he said, "What? You playing Dochi? You've got good taste, Dad." So yeah, that was my moment. Thank you. Good show as always.
Anxiety, keep on trying me. I feel it quietly, trying to silence me. Yeah, my anxiety can't shake it off of me. Somebody's watching me, and my anxiety. Solo, no mojo.
Dochi Anxiety. I'll tell you why I'm chuckling. What I loved about that voice note is there's a very special kind of cred that I must admit I crave and often in a very futile way, that somebody way younger, like a grandchild or maybe a teenager who's in the room, will listen to a song you play and say, wow, you really do have good taste. Of course, you want recognition from your peers and your age mates, but man, get it from a teenager. That's special.
Hey John, this is Medora in Davao. So if you play me that Erykah Badu, The Healer, to be precise, then I know you got good taste in music. Like, we partners right there and there.
Hi there, John. Peter here from Pretoria. A good song that I like to gauge good taste is Gravity from John Mayer. It's a classic. Thank you for a great show.
against me.
Sounds of John Mayer there, Gravity. For me, it's a kind of thing of good taste, I guess, but it's also people who have interesting tastes in music. I never really connected with country music until somebody played this for me.
I've cursed on a Sunday, I've cheated and I've lied, I've fallen down from grace a few too many times, but I find holy redemption.
Wish we had more time, but look it up for yourself. Maren Morris, debut single, won her a Grammy at the first time of asking. That's it for 702 Drive. Good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking, proud sponsors of GTR Africa 2026, enabling trade flows for growth. Absa is a registered FSP. Good evening on your Money Show tonight. Fire up the